Hey everybody. I'm feeling pretty good tonight. Wasn't feeling so hot earlier today, but now I'm feeling pretty damn good. Um Also, I was feeling mighty nostalgic for the 80s. I don't know why. I don't know what I kind of know what instigated it. I turned on the television and, you know, accessed my uh, Cube, which, most people will know that's an Amazon product. Um, and it basically has its own little, screen and all that stuff where you can put all your favorite apps and stuff. But anyway, I have Amazon Music. I pay for Amazon Music. And I hope I continue to be able to get Amazon Music in any event. Um, but anyway, I noticed that they had a new thing on there called like 80's or like videos, but then it had like because I'd been playing some 1980s music, rock music specifically, that it was showing me like videos. And it was the old classic videos like we would have seen on MTV or whatever. I was like, wow, isn't this a blast from the past? So I just decided to turn it on and try it, and, I actually recorded from the TV, like, 3 or 4 different videos. Well, my new smartwatch is telling me that the battery's down to 10%. Like, I've been wearing it for, like, since this past Saturday, and it's just now getting down to 10%, so the battery's pretty good on this thing. But anyway, Uh, I had put these videos on, Facebook, and I was like, "Remember these? Feeling nostalgic today," and bam, Sony, like, wiped out. They were blocking 3 of the videos that I put on there. One was Footloose, one was AC/DC's She Shook Me All Night Long, um and REO Speedwagon. The only one that was left on there was the Bon Jovi, uh, video. So I kept it on there. I did make a notation that Sony blocked the other 3. I didn't even think about it, I didn't even think about them being such a pain in the butt that just bam, as soon as I put it on Facebook, they blocked them. I was just putting them on there because, hey, I was nostalgic and I was kind of like saying, hey, anybody remember these music videos? Anybody remember that? Back when MTV and stuff was, they were actually music videos and not whatever reality television or whatever now it's become. But, anyways, um, so that got me, feeling all nostalgic. And so I decided to mix it up a little bit and decided to do just an 80s nostalgia explosion. And it's not going to focus on horror movies. I've got, mostly comedies in these stacks. Um, and yes, I do have 3 stacks of movies. Plus, I have a list of movies that, like, I couldn't exactly maneuver around in the back room, the back bedroom back there to get some of my DVDs out so I would have a visual, but I have a list. Now, guys, it's a lot harder than you think to pull out all of these 80s movies that you have, or maybe ones that you don't have, but to make a list. Because I went back and pulled some more because I was like, oh, damn, yeah, that one's 80s, that one's 80s, that one's 80s, So even if you are a person that watches a lot of movies, you're going to forget from time to time. So if I don't include some that you're like, what the hell, Dana, you didn't include this, that, and the other, let me know. And I will do a second or third one of these, and then we'll have more 80s explosions. And we will discuss the ones I didn't discuss tonight. Um, so I suspect this one probably is going to be a long one. I was hoping we would have more people in here. It looks like I've got 2. Nobody's commenting in the chat. So um, now we got 3. So I'm not sure if it's some of my regulars or some new people that are just kind of checking out what I'm doing, which is fine. Um, but sometimes I can't judge, I can't judge who is in here unless anybody chats. And I'm not saying you have to chat. I'm just saying that's how I judge, who all's in here because I pretty much the regular people I know their screen names. So, and some of you don't have screen names. Sometimes you just use your first name or whatever, which is cool as well. So, um, before I get started, I do want to remind everybody again that this weekend we've got two watch alongs coming up. We have the first one on Saturday night starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be 1980s prom night, the original prom night with Jamie Lee Curtis. So I'm going to be doing a watch along or a commentary or whatever you guys want to call it. We generally call them watch alongs around here, but it could be either or. So if you guys, any of you are interested in being on the stream with me, I have room for up to 9 people in the stream with me. So just let me know. That way I can be sure to send you the link. Um, if you decide once you get in here Saturday night, just say, hey, Dana, I didn't decide till now that I wanted to be in the stream. Can I be in the stream? And usually we take a few minutes before we start or get started with the stream or before we get started with the watch along to, take care of any loose ends. I do have a link, a YouTube link to watch prom night. I'm gonna tell you now that the quality is not that great. I don't believe this is an HD copy, but I'm lazy and it's just easier sometimes to have a link. Now, Sunday's watch along is going to be Cruising, William Friedkin's Cruising, starring Al Pacino. Um, and I unfortunately have not been able to find a link for that one. So it looks like we're going to have to use our own copies for that unless somebody comes up with something, a link to share with me between now and Sunday. This one will be starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, starting a little bit earlier because I know that a lot of people have to go to work Monday morning and need to get their sleep. So we don't want to be going too late for the watch along for those of you that want to join in. And as always, remember, if you want to be on the stream, you don't have to be on camera. Camera access is not required. You can do audio only if you would like. Now, I've had Red ask me this more than once. I will bring it up again in case, I'm not angry about it or anything, but I just want to explain again to everybody why I don't show the movie on screen and stream it. And the big reason is I don't want to get copyright strikes because it's basically 3 strikes and you're out and you can't do anything else on YouTube. They will kick you off of YouTube. And guys, I know there are other options to do things, but I haven't learned all the ins and outs of those options just yet. I'll be honest. Um, and so far, I mean, to be honest too, so far these watch alongs I thought have went quite smoothly for the most part with either me providing a link so you can watch it on your own or if you've got your own personal copy and you're not a lazy ass like I am and can just, put it in your player or whatever and watch it um, as you are watching the stream or listening to the stream. Oh, sorry. So that's announcements. I don't know if I'm going to be doing anything tomorrow night. I may surprise you guys. I may do something. Steve went on and went to lay down early tonight, even though he's off tomorrow, but he's got some things to do tomorrow. So I figure he wants to get his rest. So I'm not going to begrudge him that. But tomorrow night he might stay up a little bit later, so I may go, kind of hang out in the living room and hang out with Steve for as long as he will stay up. Sorry. Sorry, guys. I've got my booze with me. Not because I'm upset, but mainly, and you're probably thinking, excuses, Dane, for drinking liquor. But my throat has been really scratchy, and so I was hoping maybe this would help some. I don't know. But anyway, uh, I don't know. I was kind of hoping that this would be a kind of popular thing. Like I said, I wanted to mix it up a little bit. I don't know if maybe Dead Pit is doing something yet again tonight. I know Uncle Bill is getting ready to go on vacation, but I don't know if that's like tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow, but next week or what. Um, I don't really see anything that where they're going to be live tonight. So I don't know. Maybe everybody's busy. Or maybe they're not interested in watching any 80's nostalgia. I don't know. Um, but I'm probably going to get started with stuff here in just a second for those two of you that are watching. Like I said, I noticed that nobody is chatting in the chat. Maybe some more people will be in here later. It could be possible. Good Lord. I got little tendrils of hair that keep, like, every time I put my hat on, they go down my forehead. I'm not trying to primp, guys. I'm trying to not be aggravated by little hairs that are stringing down on my forehead. So you can see a little bit of it sticking up there. My hair is just so bad, anymore. It just will not cooperate. It's worse than it used to be. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the movies I actually have physical copies of. I was able to pull out some of my DVDs. Some of them I just didn't have access to them like I would like to because of the way the room is back there. But I'm going to try to keep you guys entertained. If I don't know. Maybe I won't do one of these kind of 80's nostalgia type things for a while if this doesn't seem to be something that somebody'd be interested in watching. I mean, I realize sometimes people like to watch things later and they don't necessarily watch them when they're live. But you know me, I like interacting with people and all that jazz. So, um, anyway, um, these are in no particular order besides basically these first three stacks are going to pretty much be in alphabetical order. I just pulled them off the shelf like that. So these are not ranked or anything like that. I'm just pulling them out and talking about them. And some of them you may never heard of. I may possibly, I hope I can introduce some people to some new movies from the 80's that are new for them from the 80's that they may have thought, oh, wow, I've never seen that. I never heard of that. Again, these are not going to be horror movies. They're going to be comedies and stuff mostly. So it's not going to be holiday themed movies for the most part. It's not going to be horror movies. It's not going to be sci-fi movies. It's mainly comedies. Okay. So, the first one is one that I absolutely love and was so glad I discovered it. And it does have Tom Hanks in it. Not the only Tom Hanks movie in the stack, but this is Bachelor Party. I was finally able to get this on Blu-ray recently. It's not like a fully loaded Blu-ray or anything like that. And it was just put out by 20th Century Fox. But not only does it have Tom Hanks on it, but it has Adrian Zmed on it, which who I love Adrian Zmed as well. Um, Tawny Katane is also on this, bless her heart. Tawny Katane's no longer with us, unfortunately. Um, so, uh, let me give you a little plot synopsis for Bachelor Party in case there's some of you that maybe have not heard or not seen Bachelor Party. Superstar Tom Hanks delivers one of his funniest performances in this legendary comedy that arrives on Blu ray for the first time. Hanks plays Rick, a school bus driver who has finally decided to tie the knot with his girlfriend Debbie, played by Tawny Katane. But first, Rick must survive the wildest bachelor bash of all time, thrown by his party animal buddies. Featuring a donkey, strippers, an Indian pimp, and more, it's a night none of them will ever forget. And definitely not a movie I will ever forget. I mean, this movie does have some nudity in it. Um, it does have male and female strippers in it. Um, hey, TJ, you said Monique Gabriel. Woo, mama. Yeah, I've forgotten about that. Yes. Um, you have a donkey doing sniffing cocaine or pills off a piano. Um, what else do we have here? Yeah, just various hijinks. I mean, Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks doesn't get naked in this movie. But there are plenty of there's plenty of female flesh around that um, the guys can take a gander at, or lesbian women can take a gander at, or bisexual people can take a gander at, you know. So, me being straight, I'm not really interested in the female flesh. There are some attractive women on here. I'm not going to lie to you. Um, I mean, it's just great. And the suicidal, depressed friend of Tom Hanks in this, the hijinks that this guy, I mean, maybe I shouldn't say hijinks, but, and suicide is not funny. You know, I know that, guys. Suicide is definitely not a funny thing. But they make it the attempted suicides that his friend tries to succeed with just so hilarious. For example, trying to slash his wrist with an electric razor, um, you know, and uh, trying to drown himself in a bathtub, and Tom Hanks just comes in there and pulls the plug and raises up the guy's head. He says, "What is wrong with you? Why do you keep doing this stuff?" And the guy's wife is left him, and that's why he's so suicidal. But then finally, he Tom Hanks just says, "Well, you go out there and have fun." So he goes out there and takes a bunch of drugs, and then break dances all over the place. It's obviously not the same guy, but it's still funny nonetheless. Hey, Milek. Um, so if you have not seen Bachelor Party, I highly recommend this movie. I mean, it is rated R. It's one of the few Tom Hanks movies that are rated R. Um, especially kind of early Tom Hanks movies, anyway. Um, there's strong, crude, and sexual content throughout, nudity, some language, and drug use. There's for your rated R. But really, you know, by today's standards, this is extremely tame to me. But I'm sure at the time that it came out, that it was, you know, it was like, whoa, you know, this has got a lot of stuff. For instance, the scene where Tawny Katane's character, uh when they basically find out what Rick and his buddies are doing, you know, having this wild bachelor parties, um, or having a wild bachelor party. and they get kind of perturbed. And they decide to go to a strip club, and the guys find out about it. And they have, a guy they know at the strip club who's one of their buddies set this thing up where the girls order things like hot dogs and stuff. And so what the guy does, they call him Nick the Dick. And you will see why when you watch the film, because the guy's dick is huge. Okay. So what he does is he takes his penis and puts it in a foot long hot dog bun and kind of, I guess, puts relish and all stuff on it. And then they go out there, and the guy goes out there, and he's got his penis on the tray in this bun and everything. And then all the other orders are there, and he hands them all out. And he goes to Tawny Kitane's mother, and she says, "Is the foot long?" And he says, "And then some." And so she's trying to get her foot long hot dog, and she's pulling this guy's dick, and he's just like this. And the other guys are just laughing their asses off. And so one of the other women sees them and gets really pissed. And so it just kind of goes on from there. Um, there's also a scene at Tawny Kitane's bachelorette party, which hers is a lot tamer than the bachelor party that Rick's having. And so uh, this guy who's in love with Tawny Kitane's character and doesn't want her to marry Tom Hanks' character, Rick, he tries to sabotage their nuptials all the time throughout this entire movie. And so he finds out that they're having these kinky strippers come to the bachelor party. So he sets something up where the girls get sent to Tawny Kitane's or Debbie's bachelorette party. And they basically, it's two chicks, and they start making out and using, vibrators and all this stuff. And you don't really see anything because the girls go to the floor, but everybody else is just like, they're horrified. All these women are horrified that this has happened. Um, and also, Wendy, is it Wendy Jo Spieber or whatever? She, unfortunately, bless her heart, she's passed away too. I believe she passed away of cancer. She was on Bosom Buddies with Tom Hanks and Peter Scolari. She was in love with Peter Scolari's character all the time. So she's in this too, playing Rick's sister-in-law in the movie. And so you have all these really great people in this movie. I love it a lot. Um, Yes, TJ. Why do good girls like bad boys? The Beehive Hair Girl group. There's guy candy for all you ladies too. There definitely is, and I'm glad you brought that up, TJ, because whoo boy, and you guys are probably going to go gross, Dana. But when Adrian Zemed is singing and he's all sweaty and he's shirtless, oh my God, you know, I just about melt to the floor every time I see that. To me, that is so sexy. So, I'm a horn dog too when it comes to guys. So, I'm not gonna lie. But yes, there is plenty of guy candy for the ladies. Yes, man, like suicide attempts are not very humorous either, but it's a good positive that a positive twist was there. Yes. Yeah, I believe the guy that played Nick is dead too. And the mom from Just the 10 of Us is in it. That's right. Yeah, TJ's all kinds of got all kinds of uh trivia for this movie. I think that's awesome. So anyway, that's Bachelor Party. I'm trying not to spend too much time on each one of these because I do have a hell of a lot of these to go through. Um, and like I said, I was hoping maybe about 9 o'clock or something, we might have some more people in here possibly. Um, but the next one is Beetlejuice, and I kind of thought about Beetlejuice for a little bit because I was like, well, yeah, it's mostly comedy, and I'm trying not to cover like any horror movies from the 80's this time. I just wanted it to be a little bit different. But to me, Beetlejuice is pretty. I mean, it's got some stuff that people might consider a little creepy or scary, but for the most part, hey, it's got Michael Keaton in it, and he's great as Beetlejuice. Winona Ryder's in here, Gina Davis, Alec Baldwin. I mean, a lot of, a fun time. I just, this movie is just fun, 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 I think. So Gina Davis's character and Alec Baldwin's character end up getting into an accident where their car crashes into a body of water, and you see them walking home wet and cold and everything. They don't realize that they're dead at first. They just think, oh, we got in an accident. Isn't it great that we didn't die? And they just go back to their house. It soon becomes apparent to them that they are no longer among the living. And they basically can't leave the house, or they go out into this desert looking area where there's these gigantic sandworms. So they're stuck in the house. They find out they're dead. They go to see a caseworker who basically asks them if they read the handbook. You know, it just seems so funny to me that the recently deceased would get a handbook to tell them what to do after they're dead. And you have these funny little things like it's not funny if a whole football team were to die, but this football team is obviously dead, and they keep coming to the caseworker and calling her coach, and she uh keeps telling them, I am not your coach. Your coach lived. You guys didn't, okay? And so everybody has to take a number at this place. And it's just like every other place you've ever had to go, or you've had to wait in line, or you've had to sit around a waiting room. Um, and there's a shrunken head dude and a voodoo guy who made this guy have a shrunken head. And the shrunken head thing comes back for kind of like a last humorous thing, kind of towards the end of the movie, and it concerns Beetlejuice. But Beetlejuice wants to kind of integrate himself into the living again. And so when Winona Ryder, Lydia, when her family moves into the house where Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are living, um, or where they did live before they died. Um, and then they want to get this family out of here, except they like Lydia. They like Lydia because Lydia's different. Lydia isn't scared of them as ghosts, but she treats them with respect and wants to be their friend and all that. And her stepmother and her father don't have, really any interest in the ghost other than to try to exploit them and make money off them. That's all they want to do, especially her stepmother. Men's room? Are you kidding? LOL. So Beetlejuice gets the idea that if he is to marry Lydia, he will be able to, permanently infiltrate the living in some way. So, um, yeah, just a really, really fun little movie. Um, I think everybody knows the story of Beetlejuice pretty much, but I'm going to read a little bit of the plot synopsis here for you. So, when a yuppie ghost couple, Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin, uh, or what's a yuppie ghost couple played by Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin to do when their quaint New England home is overrun by trendy New Yorkers? Hire a freelance bioexorcist to spook the intruders, of course, and that is, of course, Beetlejuice. Um, as directed by Tim Burton, Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice is one of the biggest, baddest wolves a ghost movie has ever unleashed. A poltergeist, or gas, I mean. Um, but yes, this is Beetlejuice. Highly, highly recommend this one. If you have never seen Beetlejuice, go out, run, don't walk, find a for free version and watch this. I now have the 4K version, which I've liked all the other incarnations of Beetlejuice that have come out over the years. So naturally, I had to get the 4K. Does look really good, but I'm not really here to talk about the quality of the movies. We're just talking about the movies in general. So that is Beetlejuice. Now, we are going to have several, almost said Tom Hanks again, several John Cusack movies. I am a huge, huge, huge fan of John Cusack. I love that guy. And back in the 80s, he was doing a lot of like teen comedy type of movies. So the first one I'm going to talk about, so I didn't know that, TJ. You say they originally were going to kill off Lydia and have her be a ghost in the house. That probably would have been interesting. I would love to see um, what they could do with that. And you got it, TJ. Better Off Dead. This is a cute, quirky little movie. And John Cusack gets the girl at the end. Um, so Booger is also on here from Revenge of the Nerds, which I'm going to talk about Revenge of the Nerds tonight. I'm also going to talk about another movie that this guy was in. And you can probably guess what movie that is because it has Tom Cruise on it. There's another hint. Yes, I want my $2. Yeah. So when the paper boy comes around collecting, you better damn well better have his $2. That's all I'm going to say. So, Better Off Dead in a nutshell. Uh, See, it even has this is a steel book, so I have the little part that was stuck on the back. See, I want my $2. And if you guys don't know what that means, even in connection with the paper boy in this, um, just watch the movie. Just watch the movie, and you'll figure out what I'm talking about. So after his girlfriend, played by Amanda Wiss, ditches him for a boorish ski jock, Lane, John Cusack decides that suicide is the only answer. Here's another movie that talks about suicide, but it doesn't talk about it in a dark way. And as both Menelect and I said, suicide is not a funny thing, it's a very serious thing. But when a movie has the ability to just make light of it, and instead of it, make light of it for almost 97 minutes or whatever, it makes it a lot easier to swallow than something that's real serious. Um, so, however, his increasingly inept attempts bring him only more agony and embarrassment. Filled with the wildest teen nightmares, a family you can't help but identify with, and a host of wonderful comic characters, Savage Steve Holland's writing and directorial debut is a masterful look at those painfully funny teen years. Um, this is not a rated R movie. This is only PG from 1985. This is, in my opinion, prime John Cusack. Diane Franklin's also on here. Kim Darby. David Ogden Steers. Um, yeah, another really, really great movie, but probably not one, and I could be wrong on this, but I'm assuming that not a whole lot of people even think about this when they think about 80s John Cusack movies. I didn't hear about this one for a long time. I'd seen a lot of the other ones that I'm going to talk about, and then I discovered this one, and I was like, wow, yeah, this is another really great John Cusack movie to add to my list of. Sometimes I like to have John Cusack night. There's John Cusack night around the Benningfield home, not for Steve to watch, but for this gal to watch. So Steve's not really interested in watching a lot of John Cusack movies. E.G. Daily, yes, looking and sounding hot. Oh, and the shorter bully from A Christmas Story is one of the background paper boys. That is correct, TJ. I love it. I just absolutely love it that you have so much trivia, because this kind of gives me more and more to go on. And you know what, guys? I forgot to show y'all my shirt. I mean, I know you guys have seen this shirt on my streams before, but I thought it was very apt to tonight because I'm talking about 80s movies. I am going to be talking about Ferris Bueller's Day Off tonight, which Ferris Bueller is another one of my favorites. I have so many favorite 80s movies. Can't even begin to tell you. Hey, Wes, you say Steve don't watch much or anything now. He just sleeps. Actually, I think he's sleeping right now, Wes. He's, I told him I was going to do an 80s nostalgia explosion stream tonight, and he was like, oh, great. Have fun. That was all she wrote about that. So, so the next one is, in my opinion, one of the Eddie Murphy classics from the 80s. And that's Beverly Hills Cop. I love this movie. I love Eddie Murphy. But I, you know, I hate to say it, but I guess I love old school Eddie Murphy. Because now a lot of times I don't see Eddie Murphy doing a lot of stuff. But this is in the prime years for Eddie Murphy. Um, so I love Beverly Hills Cop. It's so much fun. I did manage to get the 4K of it as well. So the heat is on in this fast-paced action comedy starring Eddie Murphy as Axel Foley, a street-smart Detroit cop tracking down his best friend's killer in Beverly Hills. Axel quickly learns that his wild style doesn't fit in with the Beverly Hills Police Department, which assigns two officers, Judge Reinhold and John Ashton, to make sure things don't get out of hand. Dragging the stuffy detectives along for the ride, Axel smashes through a huge culture clash in this hilarious high-speed pursuit of justice, featuring cameos by Paul Reiser, Bronson Pinchot, and Damon Wayans, and newly remastered for 4K UHD by director Martin Brest. Beverly Hills Cop is an exhilarating, essential blockbuster. Now, blockbuster I don't know about. Maybe back when it came out, it was this came out in 1984, so this wasn't even like a late 80s. This was a early, almost mid 80s film. But even though this got Judge Reinhold in it and John Ashton, and they kind of add and balance things out with Eddie Murphy in this. Still, Eddie Murphy is the man in this. And, I was talking the other night about, I don't understand why they have to switch the races around on movies or cartoons that were done a long time ago. Because, honestly, guys, We already had Dirty Harry with Clint Eastwood and stuff. Can you imagine if now they wanted to remake Beverly Hills Cop and put a white guy in Eddie Murphy's role? That wouldn't have worked. It definitely would not work. I mean, I know it wouldn't work for me. So that's just what I'm saying. Just don't mess with things. And I wasn't saying that because, these people, white people were in a lot of this stuff and now they're wanting to change it all to black. Sometimes it just doesn't work that way. It wouldn't work to change Eddie Murphy's character in Beverly Hills Cop to a white person. It didn't would not work. I mean, I guess somebody could try it, but I don't think it would work very well. So, yeah, I mean, it's an action comedy. It's starring Eddie Murphy. You got Judge Reinhold and John Ashton kind of playing the straight guys to Eddie Murphy in this. But I absolutely love it. Has a kick-ass soundtrack, in my opinion. There's a lot of great songs, so much so that I downloaded all the songs from Beverly Hills Cop, and I actually have the vinyl that I got at a secondhand store for Beverly Hills Cop. So anyway, moving right along is yet another Tom Hanks movie, and you know what I'm talking about. It's big, where he actually jumps around on the giant piano keyboard. Okay, uh, this is this is one that has aw- awesomely high nostalgia factor for me. I remember watching this one growing up and just absolutely loving it. And so Steve and I were in Caulfield's, which is a costume shop here in Louisville that as long as I've lived here and as long as Steve's lived here, neither one of us had ever went. So we decided to go close to Halloween this time. And there was a kind of modified Zoltar machine. And I just like marked out because I mean it automatically took me back to my youth. I really wanted to be able to use it, but I guess Steve wasn't interested in putting any money in there. So Um, anyway, Tom Hanks received his first Best Actor nomination in 1988 for his captivating performance in this hilarious, disarming, and timeless film for dreamers of all ages. All 12-year-old Josh Baskin wants is to be big, but when his wish is granted beyond his wildest dreams, Josh finds a new face in the mirror, his own, at age 30. Now aided only by his boisterous best friend, he'll have to keep the secret of his true age as he tries to fill his own oversized shoes. But as his innocent charms help him rise to the top of the adult world, Josh will face the biggest decision of his life: return to his own age or remain big forever. Um, this was directed by Penny Marshall. Um, Elizabeth Perkins is in this, Robert Loggia, John Hurd. God bless John Hurd. He's no longer with us. God bless Penny Marshall, too. She's no longer with us as well. Uh, but I always had a lot of fun with this movie. And still to this day, love to go back and watch it. Um, and I kind of resonate with Tom Hanks's character and even the young Josh, who the actor, I'm forgetting his name, who played young Josh Baskin, um, of when he is big, but inside he's a little boy. He's 12 or whatever, 12 or 13. And he has to make a choice when it comes down to it. Does he return home to his mom and dad and his best friend next door? Or does he stay with the woman he's fell in love with? Um, And I think that's a battle any of us would go through if we were granted that wish. Um, and so, speaking of that, I'm going to bring up TJ's comment here. You say, I like big, except the preteen sex scene, not aged well, even right after the movie was out. LOL. Now, I assume, TJ, you're talking about the scene where Tom Hanks, obviously adult character, but is supposed to be young Josh in a adult body, um, having sex with Elizabeth Perkins, um, character. Did it make you feel uncomfortable, or was it just awkward and not like you said, it hasn't aged well? Do you think they could have done better with it, and all of that? I'm just kind of curious. So just a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. There are some scenes. I kind of, at the age I am now, 46, I feel Josh's mom's pain more, even though I don't have children myself. Um, I think when you get older, you start feeling that pain of, what if I did have kids? Or if you do have kids, what if I thought my child had been kidnapped? Can you imagine the pain that you would go through, and the pain and the worry and fear and all of that? So that kind of resonates with me more now when I watch it. The scene where he has to go to New York City, and his best friend, once his best friend believes that that's Josh in an adult body, he says, "Well, we'll go to New York City, and you can stay in this hotel and all that." And so the first night that Josh is in the hotel, he's scared to death of everything. There's gunshots outside. There's somebody screaming next door. There's someone screaming outside that I guess has gotten shot. Um, and he's inside. He's just a child, and he curls up in a ball on the bed, and he cries and kind of pulls the blind up over his head, and he's going, "Mom, mom." Like, I think any of us as kids would feel that. How would we feel if we got separated from our parents at that age? It doesn't matter that Josh is in an adult body, his brain is still that of a child. So, can you imagine? It would be terrible. Um, I am drinking some red. I'm drinking some cinnamon whiskey, actually, some Fireball. So anyway, that is big. I highly recommend it. The next one, I think this is a movie that Steve doesn't much care for either, but I believe he got me this Criterion release because he knows that I like this movie really well. I also have the soundtrack on vinyl for this because it has another kick ass soundtrack, in my opinion, and that is The Big Chill. And so this deals with suicide. Again, we have this suicide motif in these films, a lot of these films. This one's from 1983, but this looks at the much darker side, the reality of suicide. So, after the shocking suicide of their friend, a group of 30 somethings reunite for his funeral and end up spending the weekend together, reminiscing about their shared past as children of the 60s and confronting the uncertainty of their lives as adults of the 80s. Poignant and warmly humorous in equal measure, this baby boomer milestone made a star of writer and director Lawrence Kasdan and is perhaps the decade's defining ensemble film, featuring memorable performances by Tom Berenger, Glenn Close, Jeff Goldblum, William Hurt, Kevin Kline, Mary Kay Place, Meg Tilly, and Joette Williams. And with its playlist of 60s rock and R&B hits, The Big Chill all but invented the consummately curated soundtrack. And TJ, you say, I never thought about it as a kid, but as an adult, the psychological aspects which are not explored come to mind. More so of the woman in the movie and what she must have been thinking afterwards. Yeah, and since you brought it up, TJ, also, the scene where, yeah, it doesn't really showcase what, because I would think that if it was a child of 12 or 13 in a grown man's body who has his first sexual experience with a woman who is actually a woman, um, I mean, would he even know what to do? Even though the sex scene is not shown, it's just alluded to. Um, yeah, I mean, wouldn't he be confused? I'm not saying he might have not seen a nudie magazine in this time, or saw some sex scenes in a movie or something maybe that he wasn't supposed to see. But yeah, that really isn't explored. Um, and maybe they thought that that would be too complicated. I don't know. Um, but the scene right after, like the morning after he's obviously had sex with Elizabeth Perkins, he's like, it's like everybody knows what he's done. All the other guys at the office know what he's done. And he's getting a high five from this guy and like, my man. And like, he's just like wanting to drink coffee, and just because it's like he had one sexual experience and he becomes a man. Yeah. So I totally get that. But I guess that's movie logic for you. You have horror movie logic and then you just have regular, movie logic. So, yeah. And yeah, what must have she been thinking? I had sex with a child, it's like, what in the hell? They don't explore that. So, Big Chill over the years is a movie that as I get older and as I mature, with each year that I get older, I appreciate the Big Chill more and more. Because, you know, I'm probably right around the age that these characters were supposed to be, back when the Big Chill came out. So now with the exception of Meg Tilly, who I figure was quite a bit younger than a lot of these people. And I think I understand it more. I understand more of the fears that these characters were going through, um, how they feel like in some cases that there were so many missed opportunities, and so many, if they had a second chance, would they have, for instance, Joe Beth Williams' character and Tom Berenger's character are obviously, I mean, I don't know if necessarily you would say they were in love, but I think that they felt like they had a half a dozen to a dozen missed opportunities over the years to sleep with each other, and they didn't. So there's this really kind of hot scene with them where they just can't keep their hands off each other. And this is after Joe Beth Williams' husband has taken their kids and decided to go back home. So she has the ultimate opportunity to finally get it on with Tom Berenger's character, which is what she's evidently wanted to do for years. And I'm not saying I'm wanting to get it on with anybody. I'm just saying, that a lot of these other things that these people are going through, the different emotions that they're having, um, for instance, Mary Kay Place is wanting to have a baby. And no, I don't, she doesn't have a man that at that point in time who she would want to have sex with and get pregnant. She doesn't want to really have a relationship with this person outside of being a friend. And she explains, she wants to have a baby really bad while she's still in her fertile stages. So she says she can't think of a better group of guys than her friends from college. So she kind of goes, up to each one of them. And it's like, um, William Hurt's character, for instance, he, I believe it's mentioned that he has one testicle, and he's like, I don't think I'd be able to get you pregnant. And several of the other guys, like, they come up with different reasons why it wouldn't be a good idea for her to have sex with them and have their child. Um, but finally, Glenn Close, who's married to Kevin Kline's character in this movie, um, allows her husband to sleep with Mary Kay Place's character. And I will admit, the scene where she has sex with Kevin Kline is sweet. It's not like it's considered cheating or, infidelity in any way. Glenn Close's character gave her permission for this to happen. And you're probably thinking, good Lord, Diane, do we have to go into the mechanics of all this stuff from The Big Chill? I'm just saying, I think The Big Chill was a very well made movie. It has one hell of a cast. Look at all these great people that you have in here. Um, I think it's very poignant um, in several places, um, but not so poignant that it gets downright sappy. You know, um, the characters do get in argument some. There is some conflict. Um, there's a very emotional scene where Glenn Close is seeming to hold up very well in the wake of their friend's death. But there is one scene where the character totally lets her guard down, and you see her kind of collapse to the floor of the shower, and the shower's still running, and she's naked, and she's got her knees up and stuff, and she's just crying. She's crying, crying, and crying. And you could almost believe by watching that she did have a friend that had committed suicide. And evidently, their friend committed suicide, was staying at their guest house. He was sleeping with Meg Tilly's character, who was a lot younger. It's a little more than a kid compared to their friend. Um, and although there are several scenes where things that Meg Tilly's character does seem awkward and out of place, I think when you look at it in the context of the movie, she really is a child who doesn't know what her place is. She doesn't really know these people. She only had a relationship with her friend, and she doesn't know really how to comprehend things, I don't think, yet. And I think maybe that's what they were trying to say about the character. Because she almost seems to come on to Jeff Goldblum's character at one point, and some people that watch it may think, God, what is wrong with her? Um, she blurts out at one time, "Oh, it was a big old mess," when talking about the suicide. Something about having to wipe up the blood and all that. And so, again, even though it seems awkward, some of the things that come out of her mouth and some of the ways that she reacts, I think, like I said, taken in context of the movie as a whole, you could more understand why she reacts. It's kind of like, like when something real serious is going on, or you find out somebody has died. Some people will have an urge to laugh. And although it's not appropriate, it's some kind of reaction, unwanted reaction, but a reaction because the person really does not know how to deal with what they've just been told. Some people scream, some people cry. and some people start laughing. Not because the situation's funny, it's an instinct, some kind of rogue reaction to what's going on, just because they can't face it, can't deal with it right then. So I think maybe that's what the filmmakers were trying to say with Meg Tilly's character in this. Uh, so that is a big chill. I highly, highly recommend this if you've never seen it. Try to see if you can get, a for free version if you don't already own it. Okay. Moving right along is a pretty much all the way funny movie. John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, the Blues Brothers. Again, I have a 4K of this. I love this movie. 4K or not, I love this movie. Um, I think this, in my opinion, is one of the greatest comedy movies to come out of any decade, basically. My dad introduced me to the Blues Brothers, as he did to a lot of movies, especially the ones that came out in the 80s. So, little plot synopsis for Blues Brothers. Comedy icons John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd star in the outrageously funny musical comedy, The Blues Brothers. After release of Jake Belushi from prison, he and brother Elwood Aykroyd take their blues band back out on the road in an attempt to raise money for the orphanage where they were raised. Havoc ensues as the brothers seek redemption on their mission from God. Directed by John Landis, National Lampoon's Animal House. The soul-stirring comedy classic features musical performances by blues legends Ray Charles, James Brown, Aretha Franklin, and Cab Calloway. This is another one with, in my opinion, a kick-ass soundtrack to just add to the fun. You have the main characters driving a car through the mall, followed by the cops. You have some like Nazis or something that are after them. Let's see, what else do we have in this movie? Yeah, there's just so much stuff in this movie that I can't even remember it all. It's so funny. But the mission from God thing, and when Belushi gets the Holy Ghost in him, and he goes flipping down the church aisle and stuff. And Dad told me about this. Is one of those things he told me about before I even seen it, and I was like, "Wow, this sounds like so much fun. I gotta see it." Um, and Dan Aykroyd keeps going up to people and saying, "We're on a mission from God." I can't say it like Dan Aykroyd, but it's just so great. Um, yes, TJ and Carrie Fisher. Bless Carrie Fisher. She's no longer with us either. But Carrie Fisher with a shotgun, and also bless John Belushi. He's no longer with us either. It's so sad now when I'm talking about comedy movies and stuff. I also have to mention a lot of people that are no longer with us anymore. Um, so John Candy's also in this as a cop. And bless John Candy. This isn't the only movie I'm going to talk about with John Candy in it, of course. But John Candy's no longer with us either. So you have an extended version on here that's not rated, and you also have a rated R theatrical version. That's Blues Brothers. Highly recommend it. So I'm going to have a few of these in here. But one of these that I have on Blu-ray, Criterion Collection, is The Breakfast Club. This is definitely a film I grew up with. I mean, I practically wore out a VHS of this movie because I loved it so much. I know a lot of people say they don't like Anthony Michael Hall. I didn't like Anthony Michael Hall in Halloween Kills, but I like Anthony Michael Hall in these teen comedies from the 80s. I think he fits in those just fine. But not only do you have Anthony Michael Hall in here, you have Ali Sheedy, Molly Ringwald, Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson. I mean, man, you talk about the iconic 80s teen comedy ensemble cast. I mean, this is great. Okay, so again, little plot synopsis for you. What happens when five strangers end up together in Saturday detention? Badass posturing, gleeful misbehavior, and a potent dose of angst. With his exuberant, disarmingly candid film, writer director John Hughes established himself as the bard of American youth, vividly and empathetically capturing how teenagers hang out, act up, and goof off. The Breakfast Club brings together an assortment of adolescent archetypes: the uptight popular girl, Molly Ringwald; the stoic jock, Emilio Estevez; the foul-mouthed rebel, Judd Nelson; the virginal bookworm, Anthony Michael Hall; and the kooky recluse, Ali Sheedy, and watches them shed their persona and emerge into unlikely friendships. With its highly quotable dialogue and star-making performances, this exploration of the trials of adolescence became an era-defining pop culture phenomenon, one whose influence now spans generations. And I think it does. I wish right now that old Curly Jaws was in here, because I would love to ask him if he's ever seen this movie or some of these others that I'm going to talk about tonight. Because I would love to hear, it says it spans generations, but I would just like to test out that theory and see if it really does span to, well, Curly Jaws's generation, and what he would say about it. TJ said I was Allison Sheedy in real life, except not as cool. I don't think I was even Allie Sheedy's uh, Allison character as a level of cool when I was at school. I was such a dork. So you were a step up from me, or a few steps up from me, TJ. But the first time I saw this movie, even though I had never gotten in trouble, I never ended up in detention for anything. And again, this deals with, kind of an attempted suicide, no matter how kooky it may seem. Anthony Michael Hall's character, O'Brien, um, is flunking shop. And he brought a flare gun to school and was going to kill himself with a flare gun. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible to kill yourself with a flare gun, but anyway, it went off in its locker, and they talk about it later, and it's funny, but there is a serious scene where they're all sitting around the circle, and they say, "Why'd you bring a gun to school, Brian?" And at that point in time, they're thinking it's, Ali Sheedy's character says, "Was it a handgun?" And he says, "No, it was a flare gun." And like they start laughing, like Emilio Estevez is like, you know. And there are several scenes where the emotions are really heightened, um, and they don't get along. But by the end of the day, they're pretty good friends. And there are some budding romantic relationships going on, especially between Molly Ringwald and Judd Nelson, and Emilio Estevez and Ali Sheedy. Poor Anthony Michael Hall is the lone person that doesn't have somebody at the end of this, but he has made four other friends during the course of the day in detention. So, um, I always wanted to become part of things, not necessarily cool, but I always wanted to be a part of things in school, and I always felt like I never was. So watching stuff like this, I was like, yeah, this gives me some solace. Even though I was never able to obtain what kind of friendships were in this movie, um, and I was never able to get a boyfriend that way by just having somebody help me out and fix my makeup and fix my hair a little bit. And then all of a sudden I'm beautiful, and then the jock wants to be with me. And and all of that. No, I never had that experience, but it was nice to be able to sit down and watch a movie that characterized things in that way. Um, TJ, you say she didn't like the makeover scene. She felt the character didn't need it, but they compromised to just take off her makeup uh, and the big sweater like it was her armor. Yeah, yeah. I had heard that she didn't care much for the makeup scene, and I think that actually must have carried over into the dialogue for the movie, or like she improvised or something because um, Molly Ringwald says at one point, she said, this looks a lot better without all that black shit on your eye. And she says, hey, I like that black shit. You know, um, hey, Robert Long, you say I really did back in 1983. Um, so Breakfast Club, I still love a lot. Like I said, I wish old Curly Jaws was in here right now so that I could ask him about his thoughts, possible thoughts on the Breakfast Club. Okay. So, another Tom Hanks movie. Man, Tom Hanks is all over the place in this. Steve, uh, Steve actually got me this steelbook, Blu-ray of this as well, and that is The Burbs. How many of you guys have seen The Burbs? You know, and whatever you may think about Corey Feldman is on this movie, and I love, 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 love Corey Feldman's character of Ricky, the neighbor who's supposed to be painting his parents' house, and instead he's like having pizza we got the pizza dude coming. You know, this has some great lines in it. Uh, a lot of them said by Corey Feldman, like he's like, we got the pizza dude coming. And the pizza dude does come, and you know they're having a big party because they're wanting to watch and see what Tom Hanks and his buddies are going to figure out about the Klopeks, the creepy neighbors next door. Carrie Fisher is also in this, playing Tom Hanks's wife in this. Yes, more Carrie Fisher, TJ. So Robert Long, you say I already watched the movies back in 1983 or back in 89. Um, yeah, I already watched them back then too, but I still like to watch them now, which, you know, uh, is why I'm doing this live stream. Um, so I hope you enjoy this kind of like walk down memory lane, Robert Long, though. But so not only does Corey Feldman get to say, I got the pizza dude coming, he also says periodically, God, I love this street. And I always found that line to be just so hilarious as well. Um, so I believe this was directed by Joe Dante, of course. Tom Hanks is in it. Bruce Dern is in this. Carrie Fisher, Rick DeCumming, and I believe Rick DeCumming, bless his heart, is no longer with us as well. Corey Feldman as Ricky, Wendy Shaw as Bonnie, Henry Gibson as Dr. Klopek, Brother Theodore as Uncle Klopek, Uncle Reuben Klopek, and Courtney, the great Courtney Gaines as Hans Klopek, and Gail Gordon as Walter, the old man who they think the Klopeks have killed. Um, so I love this movie. I mean, you can see, you know, these. I think that must be like kind of almost like a behind the scenes picture there. I was just trying to show you some pictures from this little booklet. Here's the great Carrie Fisher and her and Tom Hanks' son in the movie. Um, absolutely love this scene. This is another funny scene where they find this femur bone out in the yard. Actually, the dog has found it. I believe dug it up and found it. And Art, uh, Tom Hanks's friend, says, "This is Walter." And then they go, "No!" And like the camera's going in and out, in and out. Um, but I love that scene. Um, Wendy Shaw is definitely eye candy for those of you that like to look at beautiful women. Um, and this wouldn't be entirely kosher now. What Tom Hanks, the story he tells about when his wife is wanting him to go to the cabin or go to the cottage cabin and whatever and just get away because he's on his vacation, and she says he's just gonna sit pal around the neighborhood with his buddies or sit around in his bathrobe all the whole vacation. And so he says, I don't want to go and hear these and wait for the neighbor with the enormous head to get drunk and fall down the steps. I mean, that probably wouldn't get uttered now, because Carrie Fisher's character then says, "He's a hydrocephalic, and I don't think you should make fun of him." So probably that phrase about a neighbor with an enormous head to get drunk and fall down the stairs probably would not get used now. But I just that's so funny when I heard that. Um, yep, I was alive too when it first came out. Robert Long. The redhead dude from Children of the Corn is one of the neighbors. Yes, he is, TJ. Courtney Gaines. Robert Long, he said, watched a lot of things back in the good old days. Me too, Robert Long, me too. I'm watching good movies now. It ain't over yet. I never watched American Dad. I know the show, TJ, but you said Wendy Shaw voices the wife Francine on American Dad. Robert Long, you say, I hear you. Movie channel. I see one of those on the movie channel. Oh, all of a sudden we got like 9 people in here. Guys, I hate to, but I've drank a lot of Mountain Dew today and also been drinking a little bit of the booze. So I've got to run to the restroom. I hope I don't lose. I think it's great that we got 9 people in here right now. So I hope I don't lose those people. I will be right back. Okay. Fridge. Oh. What you doing, buddy? Reggie wants to say hello to everybody. Hmm? Hi, Bubba. What are you doing? Gotta get down. You're gonna knock my movies over. You're gonna knock my movies over. Sorry, guys. He's a child. He needs a little attention sometimes, don't you, boy? Huh? You need attention? Yeah. Do you want to talk about movies? You want to talk about movies? Hmm? Oh. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Oh. Sorry, guys. Oh. So let me catch up on these chat messages here. Robert Longy said I had movies tape 1988 Young Guns. Yes. Hey, Johnny says, sup, everyone, talking 80s. Oh, yes, this is a 80s nostalgia explosion, John, tonight. True story. TJ says, yep, we are, John. John, you say an 80s movie that I've seen 100 times but not in 10 years is Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Now, unfortunately, I don't have that one in my stack. But, you know, I said a little bit earlier that I might do a part 2 or even a part 3 of this, which I could definitely talk about the Pee Wee Herman movies. Robert Long said, we go way back. Johnny say Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Jumps off train. Johnny say I seen Better Off Dead mention. My God, I love that movie. Me too, John. Me too. Um, when the door bursts open and Ricky comes in, dances and passes out. Yes, I agree. That movie is criminally underrated. 80s comedies, it's almost endless. And, you know, I'm bound to miss a few along the way. I'm actually going to add one here that I forgot. Uh, but yes, it is nearly endless. And that's something else I was saying a little bit earlier that, you know, if I don't mention one of your favorites here, I didn't mean to slight it. It was probably one of my favorites too. It's just I missed it, and I would be glad to cover it in a later stream. So moving right along, Something funny before I go this next movie. When I was looking up like pictures for 1980 stuff, there was a collage that somebody did for supposedly 1980s movies, and they kept putting Grease in there. Not Grease 2, but Grease. And I'm like, Grease is not a 1980s movie. It's 1978. And I saw like two or three collages that had that in it. Two or three 80s collages that had that movie. Had John Travolta and Olivia Newton John. Um, TJ, tell him Large Marge sent you. Johnny said, a really good one I recommend that needs a new release is Funny Farm with Chevy Chase. Oh, yes, that's another one I don't have in my list or in my stack or on my list. But the next one I want to talk about is the classic. Again, my opinion, classic Caddyshack. Look at that crew there. You got Chevy Chase, you got Bill Murray, you got Rodney Dangerfield. I mean, holy crap. Michael O'Keefe's also in this. And Ted Knight. I mean, God, this is just full of really great people. Plus, you got that damn gopher. And I have a gopher that I need to put new batteries in that my mom got for me a while back because she knew I loved that gopher. But yeah, gopher. I was making sure it wasn't groundhog. Gopher. That he used to kind of do like this, like the gopher did on Caddyshack, and you heard the "It's All Right" song, and it would play that, and I love that thing. I've still got it in the back room. I probably should have brought it out for this stream so you guys could have at least seen it. Oh yes, the Money Pit. I love that one too. John, you say Money Pit is funny. Um, Dara Long, you say it's been a movie called Nights was a cliffhanger. That needs a part two. It's got the evil German that Carl Winslow shoots down in Die Hard. Carl maybe was his name, huh? Gotcha. So anyway, back to Caddyshack. It's the classic story, the snobs against the slobs, or in our case, probably against the really cool, fun people instead of slobs. So greenskeeper Carl Spackler is about to start World War III against a gopher. Pompous Judge Smales plays to win, but his nubile niece, Lacey Underall, wants to score her own way. Playboy Ty Webb shoots perfect golf by becoming the ball, and country club loudmouth Al Cervic just doubled a $20,000 bet on a 10-foot putt. Insanity? No, Caddyshack. Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, Bill Murray, and Ted Knight tee off for a side-splitting round of fairway foolishness that does for golf what National Lampoon's Animal House did for fraternities and Police Academy did for law enforcement. With Harold Ramis, National Lampoon's Vacation, and Analyze This directing, the virtuoso comic skills of all four blend into a riotous hole-in-one for comedy fans. Man, I cannot tell you how much fun I still have with Caddyshack. Caddyshack is another movie that my dad introduced me to. God bless my dad. I think if it wasn't for my dad seeing all these movies before I did and introducing me to so many of them, I don't think that I would be as knowledgeable. I mean, I'm not the most knowledgeable movie fan, but I'm a lot more knowledgeable, I think, than if my dad had not introduced me to a lot of these wonderful films at a kind of young age. Hey, Red, you say, Stand By Me, where I learned some of my favorite cuss words in elementary. I bet you did. Wraith, Weird Science, Howard the Duck, favorite 80s sci-fi movies, Creep Show, favorite 80s horror movie. And actually, we're going to talk about Weird Science and Howard the Duck tonight. So stay tuned, Red. John, you say, I haven't seen Caddyshack since the mid 90s. I bet rented it, and my parents were like, oh crap, this ain't appropriate. LOL. Robert Long, you say, Nights too. She shares my last name, Kathy Long does. Um, yeah, Caddyshack is just so much fun. Some people may say it hasn't aged well, but I'm like, what? I don't think this movie has to age well. It's too fun to pass up. And I know, like, people probably think, well, it's got a bunch of juvenile jokes, dick and fart jokes, and stuff like that in there. But I realize that, but I still find myself laughing insanely when they're in the pool and this girl's she has a Baby Ruth candy bar, and she gets bumped and it goes in the pool, and the one Judge Smale's nephew or whatever sees it and thinks it's a turd in the pool, and he screams duty, and the old lady like passes out or just about passes out, and they make everybody get out of the pool, and then Bill Murray is cleaning the pool, and he finds that Baby Ruth candy bar and he eats it, and he said something like, it's just a candy bar. I think that's when Judge Smale's wife passes out, when she's, oh, when he picks up the candy bar and takes a bite out because she thinks he's taking a bite of shit. Uh, John, you say I was a big SNL mark, like huge. Me too, John, at one time. I love what's considered classic Saturday Night Live now. So many cast members with films I watched back then, especially any Chevy Chase. Exactly. You said Beck and I still watch now, but it's not as fun. Yeah, John, not as funny. I completely agree with you on that. That it's not as funny as it used to be. The prime time, I think, for Saturday Night Live was 70s and 80s. And then maybe a little bit in the 90s, but the further on it went, I don't even see Steve watching. He used to download it and watch it. And I don't even see him watching it now. TJ, you say, love Caddyshack, but too many white guys. LOL, it's like the Senate. I didn't think about that, but I wonder what Caddyshack would have been like if it had been all black guys in it. John, you said the weekend update guys now are not bad. No, yeah, the weekend update guys are okay. Yeah. But it just, it really, and I hate to say this, but it really seems like, and some people will disagree with me, I'm sure, and say, what the hell are you talking about? But it seems like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel for talent anymore. And it's like, where did all the good talent go? Maybe I'm just too old to appreciate this new talent. I don't know. Or the humor, the writing and all that stuff. Maybe I just don't get it. Yes, Red. I do remember TGIF. I used to watch it every Friday. My family would sit down together and watch it. TJ, you say you can't do Jewish genes on SNL in 2022. And like, um, they used to do a lot of like joking about like good humor. Reggie, what are you doing? Sorry, guys. You're messing everything up. Quit doing that. Sorry, guys. If Reggie doesn't get my attention, sometimes he scuffs rugs up and other things just to try to get my attention. But TJ, the Jewish thing reminded me of Adam Sandler used to do a lot of Jewish kind of, it was like good natured ribbing things. And they used to do a lot of like I've got the Saturday Night Live Christmases Past DVD that I think I found it at Walmart many, many moons ago. And Reggie, you better stop that. And it has like a lot of Jewish stuff in it, uh like Hanukkah Harry coming because Santa Claus has the stomach flu. Adam Sandler on there talking about as a Jewish child growing up, the only holiday song they had was "Dreidel, Dreidel, Dreidel," and stuff like that. Probably stuff like that wouldn't even be able to be talked about now, just because people are too sensitive to find that amusing. Um, John, you say, yeah, sadly, Kristen Wiig and others left. Keenan Thompson still is funny. I wish they'd get Kel on there too. That might not be a bad idea. Kristen Wiig, Steve kind of introduced me to Kristen Wiig and her comedy. Or no, that wasn't Kristen Wiig that he did that, but Kristen Wiig, I think he liked. Gosh, who was it that Steve introduced me to? I'll think about it at some point. Um, TJ, you say, yeah, for sure, John. John, you said the mid 80s SNL was weird but kind of amusing, especially that Martin Short stuff. So anyway, there's Caddyshack. We'll move right along to, and I'm hearing your groans now, guys. I know, but I gotta cover this one because I like it. There's another Patrick Swayze movie in this stack that is not this one. And I think based on that, you're going to know what I'm going to say and what movie I'm going to bring up. It's Dirty Dancing with Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey. Guys, this was a movie I grew up with, but I don't think I really appreciated this movie for what it is until years later. Because this is a movie that right about the time that I went to a slumber party at one of my friends' houses, they were all talking about Patrick Swayze and Patrick Swayze, he's so dreamy, and guys, as I've said before, I was a late bloomer when it came to stuff like that. I just basically watched movies that I liked just because I liked them. I didn't watch them because I liked them and because they had such and such actor, and that came later for me. To appreciate actors or to find certain male actors sexy. So at that time, I was pretty much a kid when Dirty Dancing came out. So I was not mooning over Patrick Swayze at the time. God bless Patrick Swayze. He's no longer with us either. TJ, you say nobody puts Dana in a corner. Um, I mean, when I got older, oh yeah, I would have been like to have been dancing with Patrick Swayze, like Jennifer Grey got to, or any of those other people that got to dance with him in the movie. Um, so, little bit of a plot synopsis on Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancing remains a cultural icon, loved by generations of fans. The cinematic treasure inspired has inspired multiple films, a stage version, and a reality dance competition. watched around the world. On the film's 35th anniversary, celebrate the magic of Dirty Dancing and its timeless themes of love, family, class, and perseverance all over again. And not only does this have great music in it, great dancing, in my opinion, but it has a great story, guys. And there are several twists and turns along the way. And Jennifer Grey's character and Patrick Swayze's character falling in love over time within the movie, I think is so great. I don't think it's awkward at any point in time. Some people may think differently about that. Um, and that's okay. It's just that, again, Dirty Dancing was a movie that I did not uh, appreciate at the time that it came out. I didn't really understand the hype when it came out. I guess I was too young. When I got old enough to understand the themes and all of that in the movie, not just that, hey, Patrick Swayze was in it, or that it had great music and it had dancing in it. Now I understood the relationships within the film. I understood the kind of the darker places that it went into with the abortion that goes wrong, um, and Baby, uh, the character of Baby, played by Jennifer Grey, how she gets embroiled in this whole other culture and with this whole other group of people that she probably would have never came into contact with had she not went to this resort, that she pretty much went to every year with her family. And her dad was a doctor and all this stuff. Um, yeah, but without even without all the romance and all of that, this is still a really great film, and I really think that it has a great story to tell. It's not all a mushy gushy romance. Um, it's not all just a dance film. It's not all dealing with dramatic things. It's just a mixture of all different things that seem to work together. So even if you're a guy, it's okay to like this. It's okay to be a straight guy and like Dirty Dancing. There's nothing wrong with that. So, guys, if you like Dirty Dancing, feel free to say, hey, I like Dirty Dancing, or I loved it when it came out, or whatever. Nobody is going to judge you in here, especially not me, considering some of the types of movies that I like. John, God bless you for saying this, though. Good movie. But my mom and sister made me watch that tape so much as a kid. I don't ever need to hear She's Like the Wind again. Yeah, see, that's the danger sometimes with movies that seem to resonate more with the female population. The sons or the brothers of some of these women and girls kind of got shanghaied into, overkill with some of these different types of movies. I'm sure in some respects this happened with things like Footloose as well, which I'm also going to talk about tonight. So I totally get that. TJ said Jennifer Grey's OG knows. TJ said, I watched everything on TV when you could channel surf, LOL. Yeah, I think that is primarily how a lot of us in our younger days, discovered things like that. And then, once more people started getting VCRs, I think it opened things up a little bit more. But I don't have a bit of a problem with a guy, even a straight guy, like I said, saying that they enjoy Dirty Dancing or they like Dirty Dancing. But I understand John's comment too, that it was overkill, because his mom and his sister made him watch that tape so much as a kid that now he probably has some kind of reaction probably whenever he hears She's Like the Wind, which I could totally understand that. Um, Here's another film. The next one is one that I don't know how I forgot that this was an 80s film, but I actually had to go back to my shelf and pull it off because it was like, oh, damn, Dave, you forgot this movie. And guys, let me go check on Brandon because he's going to bark and he's going to wake Steve up. Reg, come on. Wait a minute. I told you not to mess that rug up, didn't I? Brandon, I'm coming. Brandon, I'm coming. You're going to wake Daddy up. I might be stuck back here. Are you gonna go out? Raina Pillow will work. Wait 5 hours for me to look at these movies. TJ, you say my fave song was the one the sister sings, but it's not on the soundtrack. Um, John, you said my favorite Swayze is a tie between Point Break and Roadhouse. Now, I didn't pull out Point Break. One reason is I couldn't figure out was Point Break 80s or not, and I didn't quite get a chance to um, pull that one out to actually look at it. Now, Point Break was actually 1991, wasn't it? Okay. But Roadhouse is in this stack because Roadhouse was a movie that I remember watching, and I think this was one that my dad rented. My dad wouldn't have ever rented Dirty Dancing, but he did, I believe, rent Roadhouse. And Steve loves Roadhouse. So, I watched it plenty. Come on, Reg. Go one out and you look back in. One out and look back in all the time. Wait. Go lay down. So sorry, guys. I apologize for all the interruptions. So we're definitely going to talk about Roadhouse tonight. Hey, X-Ray. So, yo, Dana, what I miss? Not a whole lot. We're just part way through this 1980s nostalgia explosion, X-Ray, and X-Ray says Swayze's best shit was Roadhouse, Ghost, Point Break, and Still Dawn. TJ, you said let's have a Patrick Swayze Christmas. John, you say it's early 90s. X-Ray, you say Roadhouse is like a trailer trash kung fu flick. Surprised it didn't get a shitty Nintendo game back then. Um, John, you say him as Bodie was the one villain as a kid where I didn't want him to get caught. He was just really charismatic in that role. I agree. Red, I really can't say how long this stream is going to be. I'm trying to go through these, as quickly as I can. But I've got quite a few. I mean, if people need to go, I totally understand that. But usually I can't really tell you how long the streams are going to be because sometimes we get to talking about one movie or another a little bit more, and people talk about them in the streams a little bit longer, which is groovy. It's great. That's what I like. But it's difficult for me to gauge how long something's going to take. Uh, but I do believe this will probably be on the longer end. But anyway, the next film is E.T. This is one I remember from my youth, and although I didn't get to see it when it originally came out to theaters, when they re-released it, and I was still young when they re-released it, I remember my Aunt Pam taking me and Heather to see it. Heather is terrified of E.T. She's still terrified of E.T. Oh, gosh, Brandon, please. I'm gonna tear this thing up. Now, will you go sit down? I'm tired of this now. People are gonna think I'm mean to my dogs. You done made that plastic part. You're gonna have to get up, Brandon. I know you're having problems. But if you would just go lay down, you could rest. Now, please, go sit down. Guys, I am so sorry. This is going to be one of them nights where it's just one thing after the other. But I don't want anybody to think I'm mean to my animals. I love all my animals. But it gets so aggravating whenever I give Brandon his pill to sleep and he still won't go lay down. But anyway, like I was saying, my cousin Heather is still terrified of ET. She's come to visit me in Louisville, and I have a little stuffed ET that Steve gave me that came with one of these previous releases, not this 4K release, but one of the previous releases that came out of ET. And when she told me she was coming to visit, I had to hide it. I had to put it up somewhere because she's still terrified. TJ, you said Swayze kicked a lot of ass, even in high heels. LOL. X-Ray, yes. Daner is a friend of animals, of all animals. TJ says Daner too little. That's going to be my new name. So this set, I know I'm not going on really about all the extras and stuff, but this does come with the soundtrack. It comes with this cute little booklet. I mean, how could somebody not like E.T.? I mean, he's adorable. It says a very young Drew Barrymore in this movie. Talks about the voice of E.T., making E.T. move. I just think E.T.'s adorable. I never was scared of him. I'm not making fun of my cousin because she was scared of him. I just couldn't understand. There's the kids from the movie meeting Princess Diana. It's just cute little booklet that comes with this. Um, this is a nice little 35th anniversary limited edition set. Um, Henry Thomas is in this. Drew Barrymore. Dee Wallace plays the mom in this. Peter Coyote. Um, so it's just a very, I think this is a very, very well made, friendly alien type of movie. So a little bit of a plot synopsis for E.T. The mystery, the suspense, the adventure, the call that started it all. Relive the adventure and magic in one of the most beloved motion pictures of all time. E.T. the Extraterrestrial from Academy Award winning director Steven Spielberg. Captivating audiences of all ages, this timeless story follows the unforgettable journey of a lost alien and the 10-year-old boy he befriends. Join Elliot, Henry Thomas, Gertie, Drew Barrymore, and Michael, Robert McNaughton, as they come together to help E.T. find his way back home. E.T. the Extraterrestrial is one of the great American films that forever belongs in the hearts and minds of audiences everywhere. Except my cousin, of course, who's terrified of this movie and terrified of E.T. X-Ray, you said, back in the 80s, my uncle had this huge poster of Michael Jackson posing with E.T. Shit was creepy as fuck. I bet it was. E.T. until Spielberg Lucas the effects. Yeah, I mean, I did not like. This is another thing I didn't like in the supposedly new and improved version of this movie. They took the guns out of the hands of the cops and gave them walkie talkies, and there was some other stuff. And I'm like, well, geez, why do you have to mess with that? Don't mess with perfection. And I think E.T. is one of those films that's as close as to perfection as you're going to get. It never bothered me as a kid that the cops had guns. They were cops. Um, TJ said Barrymore wasn't innocent looking enough to play Carol Ann, so she got this movie. So was she? I can't remember. Was she ever up for Carol Ann, TJ? TJ, you said there's photos with all the kids from both movies with Spielberg. Um, So again, I don't think I need to go on too awfully long about ET. I think most everybody knows what the movie is about. But it is an awesome movie, in my opinion. One of the great friendly alien movies. You know, we've had a ton of movies where the aliens were friendly, but we've had a larger ton of movies where the aliens were bad and wanted to do bad things to the human race, basically. But it's refreshing to me to go back. You know, I like my fair share of the horrific Aliens, the miniseries that was out. I remember that growing up and thinking that was just awesome. And when they tore off their human faces and they were lizards, basically, um, all that stuff, was great. But then I still like my friendly aliens. I love ET. ET would be the type of alien I just want to go up and hug. I would be like Drew Barrymore's character of Gertie in this movie. I would just be like, oh, I want to hug you. And the pain on Elliot's face, played by Henry Thomas, expertly played by Henry Thomas. Like all the young people in this movie are great. Um, Even Robert McNaughton as the older brother. Um, but when he thinks that E.T. has died, um, or is dying, and the flowers shrivel up and they die, and it's like, and he's so lost he can't assimilate to our climate. He's got people after him that want to cut him up and take his organs out and do all these horrible tests on him and stuff like that. That's all they want to do. They don't want to help him get back home, and all he wants to do is get back home to his people, or his family. And when he finally does get to go home, and you see him going up into the ship, and there's other ETs there waiting for him that look like him, and he has to say goodbye to Elliot, and he has to say goodbye to Gertie, and he has to say goodbye to Michael, and it's just, I don't know, it almost makes me want to cry thinking about it now. And again, I 1,000 times, I don't understand how my cousin can be scared of this, but I have to be understanding that even at 45 years old, she's still scared of ET. And I'm guessing that she will remain that way until the day she died. Um, but I almost cry when I'm talking about this movie and how poignant this movie is. TJ, you say she auditioned. Okay. Uh, Eminem's turned down the movie. Big mistake. Huge. LOL. Oh my gosh. Yes. Definitely. So anyway, that's E.T. Great little film. Okay. So now we're back to teen comedies. This is a Cameron Crowe penned film directed by Amy Heckerling. Of course, you know what it is, guys. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. This is another one that, I know this probably sounds kind of cringy that I say my dad introduced me to films like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But keep in mind, this is back in the days when you could only see them on TV. And things like this and Private School, which I'm also going to talk about tonight, were edited for television. So when my dad was saying, oh, yeah, this is a cool movie, I mean, it didn't have all the sex and the nudity and all that in it. So if you think about it in those terms, then it wasn't cringy that, I say my dad introduced me to these movies. Now that I'm older, I can appreciate them in their uncut form, or as I have been for a few years. So this again is the Criterion release. This is the edition that has the Robert Romanus full frontal penis scene. So, if you watch it in that context with that extended scene, you guys are probably like, "Ugh, I don't want to see Robert Romanus's penis." But guys, honestly, I was curious not to see Robert Romanus's penis, but to be able to see the movie as it was originally intended, and the fact that they, you know, maybe Amy Heckerling, maybe Cameron Crowe, and all the other filmmakers that put this together were trying to say, hey, we're not just going to show you tits and ass on the girls. We're going to show you something on the guys here. We're equal opportunity uh, flash of nudity or what, we're just, and maybe they weren't. I don't know. But this is the version that does include that. So, the wild world of adolescence has rarely been captured with as sharp an observational eye as in this refreshingly smart, frank spin on the teen comedy by director Amy Heckerling and screenwriter Cameron Crowe, for each of whom it kicked off a hugely successful film career. Based on Crowe's experiences going undercover as a student in a California high school, Fast Times at Ridgemont High blends hormone-fueled hilarity with an almost sociological examination of the 1980s teenage experience, the shopping mall hangouts, fast food jobs, buzzkill teachers, awkward dates, and first experiences of love and sex. This pop culture touchstone launched the stardom practically of an entire cast of unknowns, including Jennifer Jason Leigh, Phoebe Cates, Judge Reinhold, Forrest Whitaker, Anthony Edwards, Eric Stoltz, and Sean Penn as a stoner icon, Jess Spicoli, and broke new ground in its raw yet sensitive depiction of the realities of coming of age. And still yet, guys, even though this was as raw as they come pretty much for 1980s, early 1980s, like 82, it's still tame compared with the teen sex comedies that I've seen come out in recent years. Okay. Um, and I'm not saying that stuff like American Pie is not funny. And this stuff was raunchy in its own way. I'm just saying, um, there's more to a teen comedy, even a teen sex comedy, than throwing a bunch of TNA up there, having a bunch of vulgar language, having a bunch of sex, even if it is called a teen sex comedy. Okay. So I think this movie shows you that you don't have to overdo it with it. You can have it in there and still make a very competent movie, an entertaining movie, and all of that. You just don't know, have to go to the excessive level. Again, I'm not a prude. I'll watch stuff like this. And I even watch stuff like American Pie. Um, I watched Hot Tub Time Machine. I watched a lot of stuff. But what I noticed was even some of the newer movies that were pretty decent and funny and all of that in the right places, the excesses were clearly evident. In the movie, and I think they could have made just as good a movie, maybe even a better movie without the excess. TJ, you said conservatives hate fast times. LOL, no offense, none taken. TJ. So anyway, that's Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yeah, teen sexual hijinks and a pretty damn accurate snapshot of teenage life in the 80s, in my opinion. I mean, Cameron Crowe was young enough that he could, just like he did, go undercover in a high school where nobody knew him, and kind of infiltrate their culture for a little bit. Okay, so the next one is another one of the classics from my youth that I can watch anytime. And that is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, starring Matthew Broderick, very young Matthew Broderick. This is the Bueller edition. I got to tell you guys a funny story about that, because the day I went to Caulfield's with Steve, I had my Save Ferris shirt on. And I heard somebody go, Bueller. Like, I turned around and there was this lady and she was just laughing and she was like, I love your shirt. And it was a connection, a fun little connection. Hey, somebody gets this. But then, I kind of like, I leaned over to Steve after we had moved away because I didn't want to hurt this lady's feelings. And I was like, Ferris Bueller's Day Off used to be a movie that us young people, when we were young people, connected with over. Now we're all old, is what I said. I was like, it just hit me how much older we all are. Sometimes I guess I get locked into these things where my brain kind of gets locked in where I just feel like I haven't aged. As far as my brain thinks, I'm still in my 20s or maybe a little bit younger. But then I look in the mirror or something happens like happened at Caulfield's where I'm like, whoa, Dana, and you're 46 all over again. And it's like, it just hits you and it's a little nostalgic and it's a little depressing. It's a little bit, kind of a little bit of both. But to get back to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, little bit of a plot synopsis. Uh, for Ferris Bueller. And yes, TJ, he's a righteous dude. I can't say it like she does, but um, yeah, that is a great line. There's a lot of great lines in this movie. So it's been 25 years since Ferris Bueller took his infamous, unforgettable day off, and this release of the hit comedy from John Hughes, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, 16 Candles, is as righteous as ever. One fake sick day since high school senior Ferris Bueller, Matthew Broderick, his girlfriend Sloane, played by Mia Sara, and his best friend Cameron, played by Alan Ruck, on the adventure of their young lives as they ditch school and take off on a raucous journey through Chicago. They twist and shout their way all around town while staying one step ahead of their suspicious principal and Ferris's envious sister, played by Jennifer Grey. Um, and I think Jennifer Grey and Matthew Broderick dated at one point, and so it's so funny and kind of cringy to see them playing brother and sister in the movie. Um, so this came out in 1986, guys. I was actually 10 years old when this movie came out, so I don't think I fully enjoyed the movie until just a few years later. And I tell you guys, didn't we all have that dream of one perfect day, perfect weather, the perfect, even Ferris makes that proclamation that how could I be expected to go to school on a day like this? Because he opens the blinds, it's a beautiful day outside. Who wants to go sit in the classroom? So, didn't we all dream of that when we were in school and we felt like we were tied to our desk? We were stuck there for several hours a day. And then thankfully in the afternoon we were able to break free. But wouldn't it have been awesome to just do what Ferris did? And I would like to know how many kids actually before did the ultimate sick day fake out before Ferris Bueller, and I'd like to know how many did or improved on it after watching Ferris Bueller. And I am not, saying that movies make kids or make people do certain things. I'm not saying that, but kids have been faking sick days since time began, basically. In the Garden of Eden, probably Cain and Abel probably fake some sick days. What do you think? I'm just joking. But I'm just saying that, kids have always, sometimes I've really been sick, but sometimes they fudged it a little bit. I did it. I admit to my mom now that, yeah, there were times, Mom, when I told you I didn't feel good, where I just really wanted to stay home. I didn't really want to go to school. And I think everybody has went through that. And if you see anybody that says they didn't, or at least didn't want to, I call bullshit on that because I think that no matter how smart you were, how great your grades were, yada, 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 I think that everybody wanted to have that proverbial day off. Um, and evidently, the character of Ferris Bueller, within the confines of this film, had done it several times because there's the whole scene where the principal calls his mother at work and he's talking to her and he says, "Are you aware that your son has missed school 9 times?" And she says, "9 times?" And he says, "9 times." And, and she said, "I don't remember him missing 9 times." Like all the while, the principal is looking um, at the computer screen where it shows how many unexcused absences Ferris has. Um, Ferris is tapped into the school's computer and is deleting his sick days. And he said, "I asked for a car for my birthday. I got a computer." How's that for being born under a bad sign? But he's able to do all these incredible things with the computer to help with his ultimate sick day fake out. But Ferris Bueller is still a movie that I can watch anytime, any season. Um, and, I've got a big, pretty big interview, my third one with this one place. So, guys, again, keep your fingers crossed, toes crossed, eyes crossed, whatever. Send good thoughts and good vibes my way. If you pray, maybe you aren't supposed to pray for this, but I'm asking for prayers. I'm asking for all the good things to come my way that it can. But other than doing that, I think I'm going to spend the rest of the day kind of just doing what I want to do. Because if I do get a new job, and I'm hoping and praying I do get a new job, I'm probably not going to have as much time on my hands. But that's groovy. I'll go with it. I'll find time to watch my movies. I always did. But anyway, that is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The next one is another one that's probably going to make a lot of you guys groan because it's another dance movie with a pretty big star in it, or he became a big star, and that is Footloose, starring Kevin Bacon. Forget that cruddy remake. I hate that remake. I'm going to be honest. TJ, you said good luck. Good luck. Third interview is promising. Yeah, I was actually told that this is going to be an opportunity for the IT manager to introduce me to his boss. What was told to me was they're still in the process of interviewing people, but he wants to continue with me, and he wanted to set up a time for him to introduce me to his boss. So keeping my fingers crossed. So anyway, back to Footloose. I absolutely love this movie. I can't get enough of Kevin Bacon, Laurie Singer, Diane Weiss, John Lithgow. I mean, oh yes, and Sean Penn's brother Chris Penn in this. I love him too in this movie. And God bless Chris Penn. He's no longer with us either. Um, Robert Loney said, remember that movie back in the days, stuck like a turd in a punch bowl? Bill Murray. I don't know. Did I say anything about Bill Murray? I'm not sure. Not recently. Yes, TJ, Sarah Jessica Parker as well. So anyway, a little bit of a plot synopsis. Kevin Bacon left to stardom in the stand up and cheer film as Ren McCormick, a big city kid looking for some action after moving to a sleepy Midwestern town. When Ren discovers that the town's uptight minister, played by John Lithgow, outlawed rock music and dancing, he enlists his best friend, Chris Penn, and the minister's rebellious daughter, Laurie Singer, to abolish an outdated ban with an infectious soundtrack featuring Let's Hear It for the Boy and Footloose. Everybody will cut loose to the film that started it all. And guys, hell, I didn't, I don't want to talk too much about that remake, but I didn't even watch that remake. Seeing the trailers for that damn thing was enough for me. I mean, really, though, if anybody out there liked it, God bless you. But personally, I thought it was a travesty. I want to stay far away from it and stick with the original on this. Um, Robert Longy said, watch that movie back in 1980. Up the Academy had a really young Ralph Macchio in it. Yes. I have seen Up the Academy. It's been a while, but I do know which one you're talking about. Footloose again has a kick-ass soundtrack, so much so that I downloaded, well, in my opinion, so much so that I downloaded the entire soundtrack for myself. Um, and I Honestly, I have never heard of any place in the Midwest or otherwise in the United States outlawing rock music and or dancing. I would love to hear from some of you guys if you know of a place in history that they have banned dancing. I had never heard of it. I mean, of course, this was a big deal in '84 when this came out because not only were they doing that, but there's a big scene where they're going to burn books, and the minister pretty much stops them. John Lithgow's character stops them from burning books because they're just going to throw a bunch of books in the bonfire, and they think that this is what God's called them to do, to get rid of these terrible, terrible books that have all these bad things in it that the kids don't need to be reading. I mean, that really resonated with me because I've always been a big proponent of not censoring things, and letting parents help their kids make the right decisions, not public libraries and not even school libraries being local parentis, but especially not public libraries. So this really, really resonated with me. There was something else that resonated with me that's not related to this, but the show Family Ties. When Jennifer gets older, she wants to do a book report on Huckleberry Finn, a classic book. Um, and the teacher says that's been banned. It's not on the approved reading list. You can't do a book report on it. And Jennifer stands up for what she believes in, and she goes ahead and does a report, and she tries to read it in class, and the teacher basically jerks it out of her hand and takes it away. And there's this whole, like, the whole episode pretty much is about censorship of the written material, books and things. So I'm really, really, that's one of my things that I stand against censorship at any point in time. Robert Long, you say at the Academy probably get a 4K. That's a Mad Magazine movie. It's got that girl from Halloween 3 in it. Are you talking about Stacey Nelkin? TJ, you say I missed that one. I think the remake had a car accident that caused the no music thing. Well, actually, they do talk about an accident. I believe it was a car accident in the original Footloose. It's not talked about a lot, but it is talked about. Lori Singer, the minister's daughter in the movie, um, had an older brother, and they kind of like they talk about it very briefly. It probably gets told to, I think it gets told to Kevin Bacon. Maybe Chris Penn tells him the story that her older brother went with some kids across the bridge, and there was some drinking involved, and there was an accident. And yeah, that's why that happened. TJ, you say, got to look into that at the Academy. Yeah, you'd probably like it, TJ. Say yes. Okay. And really, Ralph Macchio before he was Karate Kid. Um, so, um, so I'm guessing that none of you have heard of this really happening, like the banning of rock music or the banning of dancing or both in any places over the years. Outlaw driving and drinking, then, LOL. Pretty much. Um, so, again, I love this soundtrack. I love the acting in this. I love the characters. I mean, just all around, in my opinion, great, well made movie. And that is Footloose. And this was actually a movie that my aunt and uncle, when they were dating, went to see at the movie theater. Okay, so the next movie is another movie that has Bill Murray in it. and that is Ghostbusters. It also has Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver, Harold Ramis, and Rick Moranis in here. Um, Yeah, just a great it's produced and directed by Ivan Reitman. No matter what you may think about Ivan Reitman, I've heard, stories about him that he was a little fresh with females on the sets of movies that he was working on, kind of hit on, not like physically hit, but, in a sexual sense. A little bit too flirtatious with the women that were on movies that he worked on. Um, Robert Long, you said the Academy had a good soundtrack. Um, so a little bit of a plot synopsis. I do have the 4K of Ghostbusters. When kooky, spooky college professors Peter Venkman, played by Bill Murray, Ray Stantz, Dan Aykroyd, and Egon Spengler, Harold Ramis, lose their university jobs, they decide to go freelance, de-haunting New York City with a new ghost removal service. As soon as they open their doors, their first order of business becomes saving beautiful cellist Dana Barrett, Sigourney Weaver, and nerdy Louis Tully, Rick Moranis, who've inadvertently opened the gates of hell right in their own apartment building. Experience all the particle beams and ectoplasm like never before in full 4K resolution with high dynamic range. TJ, you said probably saw it but forgot. LOL, I watched both up all nights, Rhonda and Gilbert. Yes, I do remember Cheap Trick, Robert Long. I love Cheap Trick. I love that band. Um, so I don't really think Ghostbusters needs any more of an introduction to that. I think most people know what what Ghostbusters is. I have people joke with me because my name's Dana and Sigourney Weaver's character is Dana in the film. And when she gets possessed by Zool, and she says, "There is no Dana here, only Zool." So people will say that to me occasionally, and it gets a laugh. Um, I should say that to Steve someday when he comes home from work and says, "Hey, Dana, there is no Dana here, only Zool." I think I'm going to do that to him sometime, kind of freak him out a little bit. Um, but this is a really fun movie. I remember watching this one for the first time with my family. I remember my dad is a really funny guy. And he's always, making jokes and things about stuff. He liked Ghostbusters, but I remember after it was over, he was like, he was trying to do the who you gonna call Ghostbusters thing, and he would say, "Who you gonna call? What you gonna do?" And he would always get it a little bit wrong with the song. There's another song that's in this movie when the ghosts are really taking over. Um, Hold on just a second here. Um, when the ghosts are really taking over New York City, and for some reason I really love that song. Uh, Guys, I don't mean to like. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's that I believe it's Magic song. I don't know if y'all could hear that little bit that I was playing. Um, Everybody's talking about Up the Academy now. Yeah, Robert Long, you got something started. I'm talking about Ghostbusters. Everybody's talking about, but that's okay. You say, plus Up the Academy had a very young appearance of Robert Downey Jr. And I always love Robert Downey Jr. Cleaning up the town. Up the Academy, that needs to be on 4K. Well, maybe it'll have from Robert Long, but the song, like I said, is I believe it's Magic. And I don't know. I Somebody said on YouTube said this was so wicked and creepy. They actually made a daytime scene feel creepy, scary, ominous, all the above with the music, the special effects, and the timing of everything. Um, so a lot of people like that, and they show a very possessed Sigourney Weaver in the scene. Um, yes, Magic by Mick Smiley, TJ. Yes. I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one that likes that song. Um, Robert Long, you say Robert Downey Jr.'s daddy directed it. But yeah, yeah, like somebody put, I believe it's Magic, but it says like one of the best scenes from the Ghostbusters movie. The music from this scene is called Magic by Mick Smiley. So if you're interested in hearing that song, there's just something that I love about that song, and I even loved it as a kid. When we watched Ghostbusters, um, as well as the Ghostbusters song. I think this. See, that sounds like a little bit different version. Here's probably there you go. We'll just enjoy this a little bit. Yeah, TJ, you say, "Have you heard the full version of Magic?" It starts different, like a love song, and then goes to the movie part. Yep, exactly. We're not gonna listen to this whole 9-minute version, but okay. So, like I said, oh, TJ, you can't hear the music audio on your end. Um, well, here's what I'll do for you, so you guys can listen to it at your leisure. I'll put the link to that extended version from YouTube. It might be something the way I've got the settings or something that y'all can hear it. But you can go to that link and hear it. What about Magic by the Cars? I also like that song. TJ, you say I bet Vinegar Syndrome would put up the Academy out. Um, Robert Long, you said, let's go get that movie up the Academy and watch it. Let's see. Say it again, like said up the Academy. So anyway, that is Ghostbusters, a great fun film, and really, in my opinion, I think it's a great family film. I remember watching it with my family. Okay. So the next one is one of CK's favorite movies from his youth. This is also a favorite movie from my youth, and from many people's youth, I would imagine, is The Goonies. Um, so this is referred to as a decade-defining classic from the imagination of Steven Spielberg and Chris Columbus. The Goonies follows a tight knit group of young friends desperate to save their homes from a greedy real estate developer. After discovering a mysterious treasure map, they find themselves being chased by a family of fugitives through an underground realm full of twisting passages and booby traps. Remember the Asian kid Data saying booby traps. I'm not making fun of the kid, but it was just that's what I said, booby traps. Um, but anyway. Their quest to find the hidden gold of legendary pirate One Eyed Willie. When all seems lost, the Goonies never say die in this beloved generation crossing adventure. So you have Sean Astin in this movie. You have Corey Feldman in this movie. You have a very young Josh Brolin in this movie playing Sean Astin's older brother. You have the Cyndi Lauper song, The Goonies Are Good Enough. Whether you like Cyndi Lauper or didn't like Cyndi Lauper, I used to love Cyndi Lauper. Um, and The Goonies Are Good Enough was just so great for me. Um, TJ, you say Robert Long. Do you own stock in that movie? LOL. I'm beginning to wonder, TJ. Robert Long, I know that you're not drinking or anything, but sometimes I don't I guess I don't catch what you're saying or something because you said there's a little chilly in this room. Say it again. Is that something from Up the Academy and I'm just not remembering? When you say Up the Academy gets 4K, I'm not gonna say it's not gonna get a 4K. But I'm gonna go back to talking about the Goonies for a little bit longer. Um, But I have always loved the Goonies. This is one of those that really has a high nostalgia factor for me. Uh, Anne Ramsey is on here as the evil mother of the bank robbers or robbers, and I don't know, just you have Chunk, you have Sloth. Um, a lot something that some people brought up that probably wouldn't get put in a film today is them making Chunk do the truffle shuffle where he has to shake all his belly, I mean, I'm sorry, but belly fat, and has to go like that to before they'll let him in, the house. um, and it's basically Corey Feldman's character who says, "Do it." He's like, "Guys, please let me in. Please let me in. I got to tell you something. I got to tell you something." And so Corey Feldman's character makes him do that, the truffle shuffle before he can come in. So, that probably wouldn't get done today, but it really, all of this stuff is so much more innocent than, like, even like kid films now are, or I guess they're kind of supposed to be kid films, are not that innocent now. There's nothing that's innocent now. And I long for the days when stuff was a little bit more innocent. Um, I'm not saying kids didn't say cuss words here and there on these older movies, but they weren't saying fuck every 5 seconds. They weren't being real rebellious for no apparent reason to their parents and giving their parents a super hard time. They were just normal kids. And I guess again, what the stuff that's out now is more a reflection of how kids are now, which is sad. A reflection of a newer landscape, one that a lot of us that grew up in the 80s are not used to, that have not acclimated with. Um, but so you also have the sloth character who's a very, turns out to be a very endearing character throughout the last part of the film and becomes Chunk's friend. Um, but this is a movie, another movie where I love everything about it. I love the camaraderie with the kids, the way the kids, you wouldn't catch kids now in a movie, I don't think, wanting to protect their home, wanting to protect, caring enough about their parents to want to protect something that their parents have worked for all their lives for. Um, they have a loyalty to both their parents and their friends, and all of that. And I just don't see that even in supposedly kid friendly movies anymore, which I find really, really sad. So that's The Goonies. Love this film. I want to watch it again soon. Um, and I was going to try to stay away from primarily Hollywood, holiday themed movies because I'll probably, cover Christmas movies and stuff like that the closer we get to Christmas. But I really couldn't help including this one in here, and that's Gremlins, because not only is Gremlins a Christmas holiday movie, you got Gizmo in it, and I love Gizmo. He is the good Mogwai. He isn't the bad Mogwais that end up coming about because Gizmo gets water spilled on him. Again, this is another Steven Spielberg related movie. So let me give you a little plot synopsis for Gremlins. Um, Anyone who lived through the 80s experienced the magic of Gremlins. For everyone else, now is the time to see one of the decade's defining movies, a wildly original blend of comedy and horror. When Billy, Zach Galligan, receives an adorable, mysterious pet named Gizmo for Christmas, he's given 3 rules for its care. Inadvertently, he breaks the rules, and a resulting army of duplicate furballs wreaks havoc throughout the town, and this endearing and enduring box office hit. Yes, and does anybody remember the rules about gremlins? Sunlight will kill them. Don't get them wet. And what's the other one? Don't feed them after midnight, or bad things will happen all the way around. Um, TJ, you said Bob's Burgers did a kind of parody of the Belchy season too. They even got Lauper to do a song for it that sound like the movie song. That is so cool. See, Bob's Burgers is another one that I always heard of, but I didn't watch. Um, I think where I found up the Academy Robert Long is I think when uh Big Lots had a lot more movies that you could pick from. Like they would have a whole bunch of those like $5 movies or $2 movies or whatever. And I think I found it in there. Um, 1983 Kidco. That's a movie that will be on 4K next too. I don't think I've seen Kidco. I know what you're talking about, but isn't it always after midnight? LOL, right? Exactly. Um, another thing about this that kind of sort of reminds me of like the ET stuff is when the old guy that owns the shop in Chinatown where Billy's father acquires the Mogwai not from the old man but from his grandson who just doesn't know any better. He says, "We need the money, I'll sell him to you." And so the grandfather comes back to retrieve Gizmo, and Gizmo has really grown to love Billy. Billy has grown to love Gizmo and realizes that it's not Gizmo's fault. It's everybody else's fault that broke all the rules, that the bad things happen in the town with the gremlins. Um, so when he says, "Goodbye, Billy," and he says that in that wonderful, adorable little voice, that's another time when I almost cry during even watching the movie today, depending on how emotional I am at the time that I watch it. Um, but Gremlins is great. A lot of good family friendly stuff. There's some scary stuff with the gremlins in here. Um, just, I mean, I just absolutely love Gremlins. Okay, so this one is kind of out of order as far as alphabetical order because, for one thing, I was thinking that Groundhog Day was an 80s movie, but it's not. It's a 90s movie. But Stripes, another Bill Murray movie, is an 80s movie. Um, and I love Stripes. If anything can make like being in an army funny, Stripes is it. This is an extended cut of it, and I believe there were some scenes that were filmed in downtown Louisville, guys, believe it or not. TJ's Amazon sells up the Academy on DVD for 15 bucks or rent for two. Wow, 15 bucks? Man, I'm kind of glad I got my cheaper version on DVD from like Big Lots. Robert Long, you say, I watched Gremlins for the first time on Betamax Video 1985. You watched a lot of things on Betamax, and that they said actually that Betamax was the better format. Robert Long, you say, I was like 10, now I'm 47, now I'm pushing 48 in January. I'm a Capricorn. Um, you're just uh, you're just a tiny bit older than me, Robert Long. That's got a very young Bill Paxton. Got to look real quick to see him. Yep. TJ says Stripes is totally funny. Totally. Yes, and I get that because PJ Souls is in this movie too, and the great giggling scene that she has in Stripes. I absolutely love. John Candy's in it. Um, so this is another movie that was directed by Ivan Reitman. A little bit of a plot synopsis about Stripes. When quick-witted slacker John Winger, Bill Murray, loses his apartment, girlfriend, and job all in one day, he decides to embark on a new adventure. He joins the U.S. Army, nearly starting World War III. So, yeah, Stripes is a fun one. Like we said, it does have PJ Souls in it, and John Candy. Warren Oates is in this, Harold Ramis. Awesome little movie. Highly recommend it. As is Groundhog Day, but I'm not going to talk about Groundhog Day tonight because that is not an 80s movie. Okay, here's another movie that near the end of the film it made me cry the first time I watched it. But I still love it. And that is Harry and the Hendersons. I absolutely love this movie. And Steve kind of looks like me, like I put up my clothes on sideways whenever I bring up Harry and the Hendersons. But I love it so much that I had to get it on Blu-ray. So, if you ever want to see a movie with a family-friendly Bigfoot in it, then this is the movie for you. So, Melinda Dillon's in it, John Lithgow's in it. So, a little bit of a plot synopsis. Harry and the Hendersons takes a venture to new heights, and it's big laughs, big hearted, big footed comedy for the whole family. A chance car accident introduces the Hendersons to the real life Bigfoot, who is anything but a ferocious monster and quickly becomes a true friend to the family. They're soon in a race against the clock to return Harry to his natural environment before the authorities capture him. So it's almost like the ET thing. The Fur will fly in this feel good romp. An Oscar winner for best makeup, the whole family will enjoy again and again. Um, yes, Rick Baker did do the special effects for Harry and the Hendersons. Um, yes, LOL, love a girl with initials. Or along you say he drops a pizza on the street. um, Harry and the Hendersons, like I said, yes, and Melinda, I can't remember if I mentioned, but Melinda Dillon is in the movie as the mom. And I do love Melinda Dillon, TJ. You say, love Melinda Dillon. Sad she's not going to be in the Christmas Story sequel this year, which I don't know if it will be any good. Me either, TJ. Um, Robert Long, you say, I rented a double feature with Teen Wolf 2 and Harry and the Hendersons. Um, Harry and the Hendersons was pretty much a staple in my house in the 80s. It was one of those things that we watched on VHS. We probably rented it the first time we watched it. I wouldn't doubt it. But the scene that really almost made me cry was the end or near the end when they're trying to get Harry to go back into the wilderness to be with the other Harrys, the other Bigfoots. And John Lithgow's character simply cannot get Harry to leave them. And he slaps Harry across the face and says, "Get out of here. We don't want you anymore." And the look, the humanistic look that Harry gives him, and he rubs his face like this. I just bawl. I will bawl even, now watching that movie and it gets to that point. It's almost like I don't want to watch that part, but I know why John Lithgow's character within the movie has to do it. But then Harry understands and he leaves and they watch as Harry goes into the woods and Harry's family is waiting for them. Evidently, there's a female, uh, I guess that would be Harry's wife, and there's little Harrys, little Bigfoots that are there too. Um, TJ, you say, I remember the Harry TV show in the 90s. I didn't ever watch that. Was it any good, TJ? Bill Murray dropped the pizza on the street and gave his girlfriend it. Um, so if you've never seen Harry and the Hendersons, I urge you to find a for free copy of Harry and the Hendersons and watch it. Nostalgia galore, but still a great film. Rick Baker does masterful special effects work on this. Just a great, excuse me, great film for, the entire family, I think. TJ, you say you liked it, was cute. Now, did you watch the movie as well, TJ? You say it had Molly Cheek from It's Gary Shandling's show as the mom. Gotcha. Robert Long, you say I also watched The Monsters today. Did you ever see it? Are you talking about the Monsters television show that used to come on? Because I actually have a box set with all the episodes in it. I haven't rewatched them all yet, but I did remember really liking that show. Um, the next one is one that when I met Leah Thompson at Scarefest a few years back, this is the poster I had her sign. And I bet she was kind of surprised because most people were going to have her sign Back to the Future stuff, I'm sure. Um, TJ, you said, yep, saw the movie first. But the movie I'm talking about is Howard the Duck. And yes, guys, this is a 4K steelbook of Howard the Duck. Steve got this for me because he knew I loved Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck is actually a comic book character. For you guys that are big into comics, you will know that Howard the Duck is a comic book character. I did not know that for a long, long time. I definitely did not know that when I first watched the Howard the Duck movie. But Howard the Duck lives on a planet with other ducks where ducks are pretty much the humans on his planet. And he gets some scientists on Earth are playing around with this laser, and they end up sucking poor Howard, through the universe into Earth. But it also brings a dangerous alien to Earth who ends up inhabiting the body of Jeffrey Jones and possessing his character. Um, and This is one movie where an alien, Howard being the alien, he spends most of the movie wanting to get back to his own planet. But this is one movie where he doesn't end up going back to his home planet. Uh, Basically, I believe they end up having to destroy the laser to prevent this alien being from being able to destroy Earth. And so he pretty much saves the human race and then becomes the manager uh, for the band that Leah Thompson's character is in. So, needless to say, I had my Howard the Duck poster signed by Leah Thompson when I met her. I did not have a Back to the Future poster signed. Um, So Robert Long, you say I had all the Marvel comic books of Howard. That's awesome. Robert Long, you say about the 1986 series at Kroger's of Howard the Duck. Exactly, TJ Duck boobs. Uh, yes, Robert Long. That's back when comic books were really cheap. But I've always loved Howard the Duck, no matter how kooky some people might think Howard the Duck is. I still yet Why else would Steve have got me a 4K of this if I still didn't enjoy this movie? Um, so anyway, that's Howard the Duck. Uh, and I'm about to talk about another movie where somebody appears to switch genders, not surgically, but they try to look like the opposite sex for the purposes of whatever the purpose is in the movie. And this is just one of the guys. Terry Griffith is about to go where no woman has gone before. This is another movie that I have a lot of fun with. I really, really enjoy. Joyce Heiser plays Terry. Clayton Ronner's in this. Billy Jacoby, Tony Hudson, William Zabka. Um, it's directed by a woman, Lisa Gottlieb. It also has not Deborah Foreman, but shoot, I'll think of it here. Um, Deborah Goodrich. Sorry. Deborah Foreman and Deborah Goodrich were both in April Fool's Day. Clayton Ronner was also in, April Fool's Day. Uh, And this movie is just full of like all these mid 80s stars in my opinion. So Terry, played by Joyce Heiser, she also went on to be on TV's LA Law. Blames sexism when her journalism teacher refuses to enter her article in a competition to win a summer internship at the local newspaper. So, with the help of her kid brother, Buddy, played by Billy Jacoby, who has several hilarious scenes in this, she masquerades as a guy at a rival school and enters the contest there. During her charade, Terry the boy tangles with a vicious bully, Greg, played by William Zabka, the Karate Kid, and Finn's often a Morris classmate, Sandy, played by Sherilyn Finn of Twin Peaks. But when she falls for a handsome loner, Rick, Clayton Ronner, TV's Murder One, our hero and heroine must find a way to convince him that she's not just one of the guys. And you've heard me talk about this stuff before. It used to in PG-13 movies. Um, they could usually get away with saying the word fuck one time. They could get away with boobs being shown one time. And so when she rips open her tuxedo near the end of the movie to show Clayton Ronner that, hey, I'm not a guy, because she kisses him and all this stuff, and like uh, in front of everybody, he's like, it's okay. He's a he's a girl or whatever. And so I really love the comedy in this one. Um, it's not overly excessive. I mean, you have that one shot where she opens the tuxedo and, obviously a woman because she's got the boobs. Um, her brother, played by Billy Jacoby, is showing her how to act like a guy and tells her to like scratch her make believe balls and and he's showing her you got to get in there and you got to dig around, and he's talking about shifting everything and all that stuff. And back then probably there were some adults that were like, oh god, why is he talking about scratching his balls and shifting everything, you know but really, guys, that stuff is tame, very, very tame now compared to what's out there now. Um, yeah, he said it's okay. She's got tits. That was the actual terminology um, of the way it was. TJ, you said Holly Robinson from 21 Jump Street is one of the band members. I think cool songs, by the way. Yes, I believe Holly Robinson is in the band. I do believe so. Roll Long, you say he was one of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I think Steve told me that. I think he explained that to me. Uh, he knows the raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's part of that race. Gotcha. TJ, you said the guy who survived Friday the 13th Part 2 is in Guys too. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Shoot. I know who you're talking about. Jeez. But I know who you're talking about. Yeah, the redheaded guy. You say that woman sure is sexy. I grew up watching it. Um, Robert Long, you say, I love the movie Heavenly Kid. Now, I know what movie you're talking about, but shamefully, I don't think I've ever watched The Heavenly Kid. Robert Long, you said that one part, she says he looks like the Karate Kid, look like Macho for Karate Kid in school. Yes. It was the good old years. Yeah, he has the lizard in the shower. That's not a euphemism. I got you, TJ. Yeah, I remember. He had snakes and lizards, and the snake bed is not a euphemism either. But yes, another a really, really great little piece of 80s history. Speaking of the Karate Kid, we're going to talk about the Karate Kid. And yes, Dana has yet another 4K of the Karate Kid. Uh, so, little bit of a plot synopsis for Karate Kid. Celebrate the 35th anniversary of the coming of age classic from Academy Award winning director John D. Avildsen, 1976 Rocky, that will leave you cheering. There's more to karate than fighting. This is the lesson that Daniel, Ralph Macchio, San Fernando Valley teenager is about to learn from a most unexpected teacher, Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita, in his Academy Award nominated performance. Best Supporting Actor, 1984, an elderly handyman who also happens to be a master of the martial arts. His training and these vital lessons will be called into play when an outmatched Daniel faces Johnny, again played by William Zabka, the skilled leader of the Cobra Kai, a vicious gang of karate school bullies in a no holds barred karate tournament for the championship of the Valley. Yes, the greatest years ever, Robert Long. Um, yes, and the Karate Kid is definitely a great coming of age story. That is no doubt. Even though I was a female growing up in this time period, I felt for Ralph Macchio's character in this and really wanted to see him be able to take on the bullies and be able to, extinguish the violence that Cobra Kai has created around karate. And the lessons that he does learn from Mr. Miyagi are awesome. Um, Really, really great movie. And something I wanted to bring up, the Cobra Kai show that's on now, I really like what they have done with that by making William Zabka's character more of a good guy in this and more trying to make things right. I think that's probably more the a better way to handle what happened to these characters in the Karate Kid uh, world. What's happened to them now? How are they getting along? What are they coping with? How are they dealing with their children? Or, all of that. And I think it's a really, really decent show. A lot better than some of the things where they've tried to kind of expand on, hey, what happened to these people after all these years? TJ, you say, I rarely revisit The Karate Kid. It's a good movie. The TV show's cool, but I got annoyed because the kids should be in jail beating up all their classmates. LOL. Well, yeah, technically. But anyway, I'm trying to go through these a little bit faster, guys, because it is after 11 o'clock, and I knew it was going to take me quite a long time to go through these. So, the ones that are on my list, what I might do is just save them for a part two and have a part two of the 80s nostalgia explosion. So, if I don't cover some of your favorites tonight, never fear. I will be doing another one of these at some point. So, the next one I want to talk about, and this was one I was able to get a Blu ray, but it kind of looks like the old fashioned VHS tapes that we all remember from our youth and going into the video stores. Um, and that's The Legend of Billie Jean. This is a movie I don't remember renting the first time I watched it. Where I remember watching this is with my cousin Heather. We were channel surfing at my granny's house in their den. They had cable, and we used to love just seeing what was on HBO and Cinemax and all that. And I don't remember which one of those premium channels we watched it on, But we ended up coming across this movie called The Legend of Billie Jean, and we were just transfixed. We were mesmerized, and I still love this movie. I absolutely love it. It's another one that I can watch anytime. So, um, the last thing she ever expected was to become a hero. When local rich kid Hubie Pike, played by Barry Tubbs, steals and wrecks Binks Davies, played by Christian Slater, Binks Davies' beloved motor scooter, Binks's older sister Billie Jean, played by Helen Slater, um, demands the $608 it costs to fix it. Binks shoots Mr. Pyatt, Richard Bradford, by accident, and he and Billie Jean flee town, accompanied by Billie Jean's girlfriends, Ophelia, played by Martha Gibbon, and Putter, played by the great, in my opinion, Yeardley Smith. They become fugitives, and when they pick up a very willing hostage, Lloyd, played by the awesome Keith Gordon, they become criminals. Billie Jean becomes a legend in her own time, a symbol of freedom to teenagers everywhere. And this was another movie that really resonated with me as a kid. And I think because of that built up nostalgia, it still resonates with me now as an adult. It's a very, in my opinion, powerful film. Um, I just love it. I think Christian Slater's great. I think Helen Slater's great. I can't talk. Yeardley Smith and Martha Gibbon are great. Keith Gordon is awesome. Keith Gordon, I mean, I believe I could almost, and I think I talked about this at one time, and I may still do it. Keith Gordon is such an amazing actor, such an accomplished actor. I mean, now he pretty much spends his time behind the camera directing and stuff, but when he was in front of the camera, I could not take my eyes off of him. And it's not necessarily because of his looks or anything, but it's just because he commands such attention to his performance. And I don't know how he does it. Very few, young actors at that time could do that. But Keith Gordon always seemed so intense, no matter what he was doing. I mean, he was supposed to be intense in something like Christine, but he was even intense in this movie. I don't know. I think it has something to do with his eyes. Um, I mean, he was awesome in this. He was awesome in Dress to Kill. He was even awesome in Jaws 2. Awesome in Christine. I mean, just I love that guy. TJ, you say during lockdown I stopped aging. LOL. I'm going to start using that too, TJ. Robert Long, you say I watch a lot of horror movies in them years too. Fair is fair. I love when that kid brings the videotape that Billie Jean has created, and the cops are watching it, and Peter Coyote plays one of the head cops, and he puts the tape in, and she does it. Fair is fair, and then he turns around to the little boy that's brought him the VHS tape, and the little boy goes, it's just so great. Um, and it just I think all kids that really got into this movie, all young people at the time, probably felt about the same way. That, nobody listens to young people. When something bad happens to them, nobody listens. And in this case, Billie Jean made them listen. She forced them to listen. She had to go on the run, but she forced them to listen. And what kid didn't feel that growing up, that they just weren't being listened to? You're simply not listening to me. Nobody listens to kids. And so um, I think this was a very, very, very powerful film for that time period. I really think it's still powerful. I'm not so sure that the generation now This is another one I'd love to ask old Curly Jaws about. But I'm just not so sure with his generation, or even maybe a generation before him, would be able to get out of this what a lot of us in the 80s got out of it. So anyway, that is Legend of Billie Jean. And if you get this version, it does have a commentary track with Helen Slater and Yeardley Smith, which is good. The next movie is not really a comedy. Well, not really. It's not the word. It's not a comedy. This copy I got is the director's cut, uh, put out by Umbrella Entertainment, but it's basically the only Blu-ray I could find of this, and I wanted to get it on Blu-ray. And that's Mask. No, and not the Jim Carrey Mask. This is the one with Cher, Sam Elliott, and Eric Stoltz, which it's based on the true story of Rocky Dennis, who had a facial deformity that he was born with. That the non-technical term for it is Leonidas. Um, and again, this is a very, very powerful film that kind of my mom introduced me to this film because I remember her saying, "Oh yes, Mask is a very, very good film." So acclaimed filmmaker Peter Bogdanovich, The Last Picture Show, directs this heartwarming and inspirational award-winning film based on the real-life story of Rocky Dennis. Eric Stoltz plays Rocky Dennis, a disfigured but highly sensitive and intelligent teenager, motivated by his loving mother, Rusty, played by Cher, and boyfriend Gar, played by Sam Elliott. Rocky ultimately overcomes pain, loneliness, and prejudice to become a role model to his classmates and teachers alike. So, for those of you that may be wondering, was Rocky Dennis's mother like she was portrayed by Cher in Mask? And the answer pretty much is yes, because I did watch an interview that was done a long time ago with Rusty Dennis, Rocky Dennis's mother. And I could probably, yeah, here it is. Sorry, guys. Um, I'm going to put the link for this in here. The video quality is not that great, but in case you're interested in seeing that old interview with Rusty Dennis, where she talks about the movie and talks about Rocky, and all of that. Really interesting little piece of history there. TJ, you say, starring Lisa Simpson, not related Slater's LOL, exactly. Or Long, you say, and also he was when he played on Happy Days. Robert Long, you said, the girl from Poltergeist, she was on Happy Days. Sorry about that, TJ. Yes, it's pronounced Yardley, by the way. Sorry, it's my random knowledge curse. LOL, no problem. A lot of these people's names I probably will mispronounce, but I'm glad that you know how to properly say it. Um, TJ, you say yes at Robert Long. Heather O'Rourke was on the last season or two on Happy Days. TJ, you say Billie Jean and Thelma and Louise would make a good double feature. Actually, it would, TJ. Yeah, go look in the refrigerator. Yes, the scene where Rocky is upset because he can't find anything to wear to his graduation, and he thinks nobody really cares. And uh, Gar tells him to go get him a beer out of the refrigerator, and they have hung his suit and tie for the graduation in the door of the refrigerator. It is really a great scene. Um, so this again is a very powerful film. I love it. I can't recommend it enough. If you've never seen it, please, 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 please try to find a for free version of this and take a look at it. Really great film. So, the next film I'm going to talk about is one from the early 80s starring Michael Keaton and Terry Garr, and that is Mr. Mom, the movie that really talks about role reversals. Um, Michael Keaton's character loses his job, and his wife, played by Terry Garr, has to go to work. He has to stay home and be Mr. Mom. He has to take care of the kiddos. Um, so, yeah, take it easy on Daddy. Remember, he's a rookie. Um, so Martin Mull is on this, and Jillian, Christopher Lloyd, Michael Keaton, Terry Garr. Um, this is a really great film that I like to go back when I'm feeling really nostalgic for early Michael Keaton movies. So while Caroline Butler, played by Terry Garr, re-enters the workforce and becomes the rising star of her advertising agency, her newly unemployed husband, Jack, played by Michael Keaton, finds himself a new job as a stay-at-home dad. But if Jack thinks his old career in the automotive industry was tough, he has no idea what's waiting for him at home. The ins and outs of dropping the kids off at school, that whole scene where uh, they have to explain to him the differences when you're dropping off the kids and when you're picking up the kids from school, and the kids keep telling him, "You're doing it the wrong way, Daddy, you're doing it the wrong way," and he said, "I'm doing it the right way." And then one of the other mothers talks to him when he gets up there, and she says, "Hi, Jack, you're doing it wrong." And um, so it's just a really, really great movie. So dropping the kids off at school, soap operas, woobies, babies with chili, a cleanup on aisle 7, and a vacuum cleaner named Jaws. Not to mention the seedy neighborhood drama. Inspired in part by writer John Hughes, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, own life lessons as a clueless stay-at-home father. This was written by John Hughes, guys. Mr. Mom is sure to have every parent slapping their foreheads with sympathy as they slap their knees with laughter. And that is the great Mr. Mom. I highly recommend this to anybody to watch. Really, really fun movie. Right along, you said that's one of my favorite movies too. Yes, TJ, the vacuum attack. Right along, you said I love it, but I still watch it today. That woman said she can't give a kid chili. Exactly. So the next one is one that maybe not a lot of you guys have heard about. I remember my dad renting it. I don't think it was probably my dad's kind of movie, and I think he realized that a little bit too late. Because this is more like my type of movie now. This is more like a romantic comedy, and I think he was maybe thinking it was gonna, be more risque, maybe. But that movie is Mystic Pizza, and I love this movie. It has Annabeth Gish, Julia Roberts, Lily Taylor, Vincent D'Onofrio, William Moses, and Adam Stork in it. Um, So, filled with heart and humor, Mystic Pizza charts the lives and loves of three unforgettable waitresses in a little town called Mystic. Starring Julia Roberts, Annabeth Gish, and Lily Taylor, Mystic Pizza has all the right ingredients of a main course favorite. For sexy Daisy, played by Julia Roberts, her sensible sister Kat, played by Gish, and her wisecracking friend JoJo, played by Taylor, the summer after high school is a summer they'll never forget. Slinging pizza at a local restaurant, the three girls share their hopes, dreams, and plans for escaping their small town. And when Daisy is swept off her feet by a wealthy young man named Charles, they all think she's found her ticket out. But when the girls learn that Charles isn't the man they think he is, they discover that with friendship and self respect, not only will they find real happiness and a way out of Mystic, but they just might find themselves. Um, Robert Long, you said it's got a very young Matt Damon in it. Um, so, like, I think the part that resonated with me the most about this movie after I got older, of course, um, was not Julia Roberts' relationship within the movie with Adam Stork's character. It was the relationship with her sister, played by Annabeth Gish, and the guy that she ends up babysitting for and ends up falling for while his wife is overseas out of town. Um, that scene where um, JoJo ends up babysitting the little girl, and Kat ends up going with the little girl's father to a house that he's working on, and they end up sleeping together, and she's totally in love with this guy even though he's married, he's got a wife, he's got a kid. She falls head over heels in love with this guy, and I mean, it is like a deep love or crush, whatever you want to call it. But then they come back to the house, and the guy's wife has returned, and JoJo is trying to tried to help Kat get out of this mess and help keep the the guy's wife from figuring out that, hey, they've been out with each other. Um, and so when Kat comes to the devastating conclusion that once this guy's wife is back, it's over between them. Um, she goes back home, and um, Julia Roberts' character of Daisy is very angry with Kat, and Kat just goes to the bedroom and sits down and is very quiet. And Daisy says, "Kat, are you deaf?" or something like that. And then she comes in the room and she sees the cat is crying. And anybody that's ever, especially a girl or a woman, that has had her heart broken by a male, um, will know the look, the devastation on um, Kat's face. And she's crying and she's hugging Daisy, and she's like, she said, he just stood there. He didn't say anything to me. And she said, I'm just so stupid. And why does it hurt so bad? And that scene was really the scene that really resonated with me. And it's resonated with me more so over the years because I've had crushes on men who, number one, it was it was not reciprocated, so that is a devastating thing. And I'm not somebody that's going to stalk somebody or try to kill the person that they're with. It just hurts. My heart was broken when I realized that I was never going to have a chance with this person. So a scene like that really, really resonates with me. And even now, that kind of stuff resonates with me. And here's why: because no matter how much you love somebody or you're in a marriage with somebody, you're going to have conflict from time to time. There are going to be times where you feel like the other person doesn't care about you. So that's the other part of it that kind of resonates with me. So, not to try to bum anybody out uh, too badly, but the overall movie, Mystic Pieces, is a great little movie. There's some funny stuff in it. There's some kind of sad and poignant stuff in it, but it's a really, really well made movie. Excuse me, again, that I can watch anytime. Um, or along you said that woman knows how to cook some pizza. Yeah, TJ, I think I did to hear that this or read somewhere that this was based on a real pizza. Um, Robert Long, you said they knew how to roll pizza dough. Robert Long, you said it can't be as sad as that Dolly Parton in the movie. Are you talking about Still Magnolias, which is one that I considered talking about, but I just that one is just too sad for me, and because I'm diabetic and Julia Roberts character in that is diabetic, I don't know, I have a really tough time with that movie now. Um, you say like in Georgia or something, Sally Field. Yeah, TJ, that was Still Magnolias. Yeah, TJ, you said that DVD cover has a huge Julia photo and barely can see the other two. Yeah, no, that is funny. So, moving right along, we're getting near the end of this humongous stacks. And like I said, if I don't cover one that you were like, gosh, I can't believe Dana didn't cover this one, a second part is forthcoming, guys. So, the next one is Porky's. This is the Bob Clark film. It's a whole HOLE new way to get girls. Good, clean, dirty fun is what Newsweek called this. So nothing you've ever seen is likely to prepare you for the sheer raunchiness and comic outrageousness of Porky's. And this Blu-ray edition is sure to give you an eyeful along with the treasure trove of special features that will leave you squealing with pleasure. Welcome to the hilarious, raunchy comedy with the most anticipated climax in motion picture history. Join the comic misadventures of six horny teens in the 50s who are desperate to satisfy their adolescent sexual urges. When they strike out on their own, they decide to pool the resources and get it at Porky's, a honky tonk strip joint with a bad reputation. But when the owner of Porky's rips them off and humiliates them, they plot a revenge scheme that really goes all the way. So, um, but guys, I just want to ask you guys, I just want to make sure that I am not completely off base with this. So, Susan Clark, who plays Cherry Forever in the movie, and for those of you that have seen Porky's, you'll know who Cherry Forever is. And Alex Karras, who plays the bad guy sheriff in it. Wasn't Alex Karras and Susan Clark, weren't they married on Webster? Weren't they the ones that adopted Webster? Remember that show Webster? Like, and if that's so, that just seems so weird to me. Um, TJ, you say, how did Bob Clark make both Porky's and A Christmas Story? Or like, better yet, Porky's, A Christmas Story, and Black Christmas. Um, but TJ, I probably should ask you this: wasn't Susan Clark and Alex Karras married in Webster, or I totally off base there? Weren't they married on that show, and didn't they adopt Webster? I mean, but while I'm waiting for that, I'll just say that Porky's is good, clean, dirty fun. There are several hilarious scenes in this. Um, Kim Cattrall scene where they call her Lassie, and the one guy says, "Why do they call her Lassie?" And the other guy who is in Black Christmas, who plays the very naive, kind of stupid cop in Black Christmas, um, he's like assistant coach or something, and he says, "Oh, you'll find out. Take her in the locker room or whatever, and you'll find out." And he never will tell him. And so he ends up going, in a locker room area with Kim Cattrall's character, and Kim Cattrall like starts smelling the, I don't know, the scent of men from the jock straps or something. And then the guy's like, "Oh God, I'm finally gonna have sex with her." And she goes, "Oh, oh, oh," like that, and starts sounding like a dog. And he's trying to like get her to be quiet, and everybody can hear it. And like the one guy is like just dying. Um, and then he says to the guy later, "I guess you something about I guess you found out why we call her Lassie now." Um, okay, TJ, you said they were married in real life too, and they were married on Webster. Okay, so I didn't realize that, but I did think that was the same two people that were on Webster. Yes, the boys from Angel Beach are here. Um, or long you say, I remember her. TJ, you say until Karis died. Or long you say, I remember them too. So, I mean, somebody else that is also in this is Ida from a Motel Hell, plays Miss Ballbricker. And the whole thing about her being able to recognize um, who whose penis was stuck through the hole going into the girl's shower, and she says, "I recognize that mole anywhere. I know whose penis that is." And like she's telling the principal that, and the coach and the assistant coach are just dying over in the corner. And like she's kind of, I hate to say it, but she kind of waddles in there and she's like, "I know that penis anywhere." And like the principal's not wanting to say penis or anything, and he's like, "Private parts." And then, but soon nobody can stop laughing. And Miss Ballbricker gets really mad and just kind of stomps out of the office, and they're just all just dying. They're on the floor laughing. They're laughing so hard. Um, so yeah, a lot of really fun and hilarious things in Porky's. And Porky's was a movie that took me more than one watch before I really was able to enjoy the humor in it. Um, I think it took a second watch. I didn't really get it at first, and then the second time I watched it, oh yeah, I get why people think this is funny. So that's Porky's. The next one you guys are probably going to groan about. And you know what, guys? I think what I'm going to do, so I don't, it's almost midnight. I'm going to cover this one last one, and then I'm going to leave the other two stacks plus the written movies for a second part. What do you say? So, because I'm going to need to get some rest, um, because I've got that interview tomorrow. Robert Long, he said that black man comes out, "I'll kill you, white boys," or something. Exactly. But I'm going to talk about Pretty Woman, which is another Julia Roberts and a Richard Gere movie. This is one I remember with great fondness from my youth. And so I like to go back and watch it quite often. So, Academy Award winner Julia Roberts and Golden Globe winner Richard Gere will leave you breathless in Pretty Woman, now more irresistible than ever on Blu-ray disc. Vivian, Julia Roberts' character, is a spirited, streetwise diamond in the rough when she meets the shrewd, no-nonsense billionaire Edward Lewis, played by Gere. It's a chance encounter that turns into a week-long business arrangement. Uh, it's into a timeless rags to riches romance. Fall in love all over again as this contemporary Cinderella story unfolds before your eyes in the sparkling clarity of high definition. Up to 6 times the resolution of DVDs. Savor every word, every laugh, and every unforgettable song as the magnificently enhanced audio quality embraces you. Experience all the comedy, charm, and passion of this beloved classic as never before on Blu-ray. This was directed by Gary Marshall. Um, and again, it stars Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. I just love this movie. This is every little girl's dream, not to be a hooker. That part's not. But it's every little girl's dream or every young girl's dream to be swept off her feet by some kind of suave, uh, gorgeous guy who's going to fulfill your every fancy, your every want. You, you know, um, you can't. I call bullshit if a woman says that she's never felt that. So this is every woman's fairy tale, guys. Every woman's fairy tale, trust me. And that's Pretty Woman. And Laura San Giacomo, better Nadine than Amber Heard. I agree, TJ. I agree. Uh, she saves him right back. So, guys, because I'm going to save, like I said, I got to get some rest, and you guys got to get some rest. Some people got to work tomorrow. Steve, has been, gosh, I'm going to put my hat back on because I got a little bit of hat here. Um, so, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night. Robert Long, TJ, I want to thank you guys for pretty much staying in here with me this whole entire time. We've had varying numbers of people in here tonight, but you guys have been the one that have been steadily talking to me. I assure you guys there's going to be a part 2 to this, starting with me talking about private school the next time. Depending on how things go tomorrow, I may do the rest of these. But don't hold me to that. I just got to see how things go. Good night, TJ. And you say, see you Saturday? Yes, sir. So are you going to be able to, you think you'll be able to be on the prom night stream with me, TJ? Because I'd love to have you on there. I look better without my hat off. So, like, I look really bad if I take my hat off, Robert Long. Well, I'll try to keep it on for you, okay? you sound about like my husband. Um, TJ, you say, yeah, I'll be there. Awesome. I'm hoping we have, I'm hoping there's several people that want to be on both live streams, actually. Yeah, exactly. I like that little time. I'm gonna put that back up there. So, oh, sorry. Robert Long. I like my hair. I'm gonna take this off when I get off screen, but I'm sorry if I scare you when I take my hat off. Um, so with all that being said, I'm gonna skedaddle on out of here for the night, and I will see everyone on the flip side. Y'all have a good night now.